and then
Yeah, for sure.
a little bit after that, we'll give you the we'll give you an introduction, and usually I let people introduce themselves.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Keep it real casual.
I feel it. Let's see. I think
Yeah.
did it post on my story?
If you go to my my channel, you should see that I'm live now.
All right, for sure. I put a little post on Instagram, so maybe people
Oh,
will
cool.
come as the stream goes up.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully I did it right. Remember last night I went did live for my music review and I like messed something up, so I was talking to myself for the first 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like reviewing someone's music and I was like getting into it, and then I look and I'm like, huh, why is no one here yet? This is usually like, everyone's asking me when I'm doing the next one. And then I was like, oh, I never hit the go live button. Thanks, YouTube. Like I'm like uploading and streaming on the computer side, but I never officially hit the button. It's my mistake, but still.
Yeah, I feel it, man. It's so meta, just like seeing the live video on YouTube. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
I see 3 of your faces right now because I have like our Zoom call, and then I have the OBS capture of our call, and then I see the preview of the YouTube live from like 15 seconds in the past, because that's how long it takes to get up, and it's super trippy. See, we got KJ in the chat. We got Eddie Wainick the third in the chat. How's it going, guys? Let us
Yo,
let us know if you can hear us, see us. Everything's looking good.
drop a like here.
Yeah. Got to get those numbers up. Yeah, and that,
Oh yeah, man.
it's super important. I'm sure you've realized that with your time on YouTube. Actually, I'm gonna pull up
Oh
your
yeah.
channel.
I gotta get that algorithm. I could just see everything is just gaming the algorithm at this point.
Yeah, it's like it's good at times because sometimes you can kind of predict like you just know like this video is gonna do fantastic, or like this video is not gonna do great, and it's good to like know that, but at the same time it's kind of crap because there's certain things I want to talk about that I care a lot about, and I know they'll just do badly.
Yeah,
And so it's a double-edged sword.
yeah, I totally feel you on that, man.
We got a Shockface, that's a fun name. We got Panama Canal, spelled in a cool way. Edward Floyd, Javin Black TV. KJ said he stopped mixing a client song for this. Oh man, that's a lot of pressure. A Will, QP View, nice, nice. Thanks for joining in, everyone. And Eddie Wainick the third. You said my name right on the first try. Sweet, I'm on a roll. Video and audio is good. All right, cool.
Sweet.
Let's make sure. So I am recording. In worst case, YouTube gives me a backup. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. So if you could just like let everyone know who you are, what you do, and what you get going on in your life.
Yeah, so I'm Zan Griffin. I'm 20 years old. I've been producing. That's like the main thing I do. I've been doing it for 11 years now. I started when I was 9 years old. Um, I mostly made EDM. I built my name off of doing like a lot of EDM stuff. Um, and yeah, at this point, I'm just like an all-around artist. I sing now. I do songwriting. I do mixing / engineering and producing. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good explanation. I'm based out of California. I'm in LA right now. Um, what else is there?
You're just an overall
I
cool guy to talk to.
Thank
You
you,
like
man.
long walks on the beach.
I actually really do like long walks on the beach is the funny part. I go to the beach almost every morning.
Nice. Yeah, we got a lot of beaches there in LA. It's a nice
Yeah,
place.
yeah, it's a lot of them out here. I guess another thing I'll mention is I pretty much I love every genre of music at this point. I'm really not really what's the word, like anchoring myself to a genre at one point, because at one point I was doing like progressive house and progressive trance, and that was like my thing. And then eventually I went to like dubstep, and I went to like future bass. Then I just said, oh, I'm an EDM artist. I'm not even gonna identify one of those things. And then I started to mess with like R&B and like hip hop, and then like just like indie, like electronic indie type. And then I just was like, man, I just like making everything because I like making like cinematic score type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I just like making music. So that's the point I'm at now.
Nice, man. So when we talked last, we were talking a lot about Facebook ads and stuff, but along that chat, you mentioned that you've gotten to where you are today with this, like, essentially just organic, 100% organic, just reaching out and networking and just putting in a ton of effort. And
Yeah.
you've been doing music, so you're 20 now, and I forget what age you said you started, like, making
Nine.
music and pushing it. 9. So which is already fantastic. But you've managed to grow your Spotify, and I'm sure your other platforms. I know on YouTube I think you have more subscribers than I do. Yeah, but your Spotify, you got 116,000 monthly listeners, and you got almost 30,000 followers, and you did that essentially for free. I mean, aside from you know tens of
Yeah.
thousands of hours of your own effort and blood,
Yeah.
sweat, and tears. But could you walk through kind of that journey of how you built that all up over the years?
Yeah. So definitely like I'm gonna be probably like really long winded and go on like lots of tangents.
That's
That's
good.
just kind of how I am.
That's good.
But I guess I'll try to start from as beginning as I can. So I started producing because my dad was actually a producer back in the day. He used to do like a lot of like the West Coast rap stuff back when it was like first coming onto the scene like in the mainstream and stuff. So he actually got the opportunity to work with people like Ice Cube and like Snoop Dogg and just like really underground West Coast rappers like a guy named Threat. Um, but yeah, things didn't end up like working out as far as him becoming like a big producer. Like one of his friends is DJ Poop. He's the one who actually made Friday. If you guys have ever
Oh,
seen that movie, my
oh
dad grew
yeah.
up with that guy, and he's the one who actually got my dad into producing and like making music and stuff. And he didn't end up being as popular as him because it's just like a lot of politics and things like that back then. And there weren't like the copyright laws that we have now. So my dad actually, I'm not gonna get into too many specifics because it could be like legal or whatever. But like
Yeah.
just certain things got like stolen. He didn't get his rightful credit for certain things, and like yeah, just a lot of bad things kind of happened. And um he ended up passing the torch to my older brother, and he passed it on to me too. But originally I didn't want to produce. Like I wasn't interested in music at all. I wanted to be an engineer. I love that to this day. um I wanted to be like some kind of like architect, or just build things. I've always liked to like create and build things, and I thought that's what I was going to be doing. But they kind of forced it on me, and then I ended up liking it because I got to build things. Like I got to take that same mentality I've always had and just put it into art because I like
Yeah.
drawing and stuff too. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So that's pretty much how I got into the actual producing. Because I know some people are curious, like, how do you start at 9 years old?
Yeah, and
So
just to interject for 1 sec, it's funny that they basically pushed music on you, whereas for most people it's the opposite. Their families are like, "No, don't do this music stuff. Become an
yeah,
engineer or become an architect." For you, is like the polar opposite, which is kind
yeah,
of nuts.
literally, like it's really crazy because my grandpa, he worked for the city in masonry, so he did like a whole bunch of like the bricklaying and stuff for LA.
Yeah,
And so it was kind of like almost like following like a path kind of thing because I wanted to be like my grandpa as far as like building things and stuff like that, just like on a bigger scale instead of just being like a
yeah,
mason worker. Like I wanted to like design buildings and stuff. And my dad was also into like CAD software and things like that too. So it was
mm,
like a thing, like a a base, I guess, that we all kind of did. We were in like that engineering, architect, kind of like CAD designing type of world.
yeah,
But my dad specifically, he branched out to music. But yeah, so they forced it on me. Ended up doing music, and my dad, as far as like how much I was taught, because I know some people probably think that, oh man, like he probably just taught you like a whole bunch of stuff and everything like that. But honestly, he really didn't know how to work the programs I was using. Like he came from that era of like analog gear, so he had
mm,
like MPC 3000s and like actual synthesizers. Like I have like a mini Moog in the garage that he gave me. And like so he gave me a Mac. I say I started when I was 9 because I actually started earlier than that, but I didn't start doing my own like music, like beats, like myself
Mm.
until I was 9. Because he got me this really old MacBook for my 9th birthday, and then I got Reason on there, like on the Reason software,
Yeah.
yeah. So like imagine a 9-year-old on like Reason is like to me is still like a complicated plugin. I mean not plugin, but DAW. So like the
Yeah.
fact that I started on that instead of like something like I use FL Studio now, but instead of starting on like a easier program like Ableton or FL, Reason was really like just it was a lot for a
It's
9-year-old.
a
And
lot for me. Like I bought it just to check it out, because I sell
mhm,
sample packs and thought it'd be a cool way to get more sounds. But I mean, you see, I have the Eurorack stuff, and to me,
mhm.
it's like the difference between using like a Moog to using a Eurorack setup, like in complexity. It is Reason. It's great, but like I can see how that probably puts you in a great position to transition to other DAWs.
Yeah, definitely it did because it was just like such a learning curve, but it was kind of fun like being able to figure things out and being so limited because I would look at tutorials all the time. Everyone had like DSTs and like everyone no one really used Reason except this one dude named Lucky Date. He was like an older EDM act, and I learned a lot of stuff from him as far as like sound design and things like that. And yeah, so I was using Reason. My dad, he showed me the basics because he kind of knew how to use it because it was on the computer. Like he had the license for it and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, I know how to like record stuff in here. Like I can show you how to do that." But other than that, he was like, "Okay, you're kind of on your own. Like I just showed you how to kind of like record your drum beats in there, how to like put new plugins in. That's really all he knew how to do in there." So I figured everything else out by myself, and from there it was really there weren't tutorials like that. Like YouTube wasn't like this haven of like like now you can become like a really proficient producer in like a year if
Yeah.
you like put the time. But at that time I was so dedicated because that's like I had all the time in the world, and I couldn't find tutorials. Like I tried googling things, I tried going on YouTube, so it was a lot of it. I just found my own creative ways to like make my own sounds and to like develop my style. And I spent that time really just like listening to songs that I liked and like trying to recreate them. And that got me like a lot of insight on like how songs are like structured and what sounds do what. And it like really um, trained my ear so I could really hear what's going on in
Mm.
music. And yeah, I was doing hip hop originally because, like I said, my dad was into like the whole West Coast rap scene. So naturally, I wanted to do like the same thing as him. And my brother also was into like making hip hop music. And yeah, I was doing that for a while. Then my brother actually showed me Benny Benassi Satisfaction. And I heard that and I was like, yo, what type of music is this? Like this is so cool. Like he told me, he's like, oh, this is like house music. Because it was before like he called it EDM. He was like, oh, it's house music. And I was like, yo, this is I want to make this type, this is hype. Like, because I was such a hyperactive kid. Like I've always been like super active and always in sports and things like that. Like I've been that kid who like can't sit still. So
Yeah.
like that like EDM was like perfect for me because I was just like, oh, this is like hype. This is just pure hype music.
Yeah.
So I started to get into like making house music. Then I found out about Dead Mouse and some dude named Butch Clancy on SoundCloud, who was like one of the first like big dubstep dudes to really like pop on SoundCloud. Then like Skrillex, and the list kind of
Mm.
goes on. And yeah, I started to just really get deep into that. If some of you guys want to see like me making like a house song when I was like 11, I think I was like 10 or 11 years old, you could go to my YouTube channel and like scroll all the way down to the bottom of the
Oh
videos and you'll
snap! You
see.
you you were making videos when you were 11. That's.
Yeah, my mom made me like they made me make it because they were just like, oh, you should be on YouTube. Like this is how many people your age are doing this and like actually pretty good at it. And I was so camera shy. Like I was like, no, 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 don't put me on camera. Like, but they did. So I'm really grateful for it. Though. I'm really grateful that they pushed me because I was like a very
Yeah.
shy kid. And yeah, so by 11 I was really like pretty deep into it. As far as like I really liked EDM, I was pretty well acquainted with like names and like the scene and stuff. And then I got
Mm.
introduced into like progressive house and progressive trance, like that kind of like Anjuna silk music, enhanced music type of sound. My brother's best friend actually put me on to that scene. um And then that was like the start of me like kind of like really developing a style. Um and at that point, I think by 13, I had transitioned to FL Studio because my we had an extra like old Dell tower that was like really bad, but like it was good enough to run FL Studio, so that was cool. So I was able to get that, and I was like, yes, finally, because the MacBook that my dad gave me, it wasn't like some nice thing. It was like one of like the PowerBook series
Oh
ones
yeah.
that was like horrible. Like I couldn't even get Google Chrome on it. I couldn't like watch certain like it was like certain websites I couldn't go on because I couldn't download the latest Adobe Flash player. Like it was like a really old. Like I couldn't even get like a newer version of Reason. I had like a really old version of it. So to get that Windows computer, it was very nice because you know like pretty much everything. You could pretty much get anything on like a Windows XP computer at the time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I started using FL Studio by the time I think I was about 13, and at that point, that friend that I told you about, like my brother's friend who introduced me to progressive trance, he
Hmm.
actually was friends with this dude who made a label called Nova Lotus. And you know, back then there weren't like independent distributors like DistroKid and stuff, so it was really hard for me to figure out how to get my stuff on iTunes because I wanted to be like
Yeah.
considered like legit. And he got me in like a Facebook group chat with that guy, and then the dude was like freaked out by like how young I was when he heard my music. And then I ended up like signing my first contract with him when I was 13,
Is that
and
even
then I was
is
able
that
to.
even legal?
Well, I
So,
had my parents had to co-sign.
okay, man,
Yeah, anything. Yeah,
that's crazy. That like by the time you're 13, you're signing contracts for music. Like,
yeah,
okay, cool. All right, so we're at 13. You're like already making some success.
yeah. So at 13, I get my first song on like distributed pretty much like on iTunes and on Spotify and stuff. And back then, my name used to be Zan Wow, XANWW. So you guys can find some of my like older releases. Like
Oh man.
before I was like 15, I changed my name to like my real name. So my real name is Zan Griffin.
Yeah.
I changed that like when I was about like 15, I believe. Because I that's the first time I got a manager, but I'll get to that in a second.
Wait, so Zan Wow, the account that still currently has over 2,000 monthly listeners, that's you when
Yeah,
you were a teenager?
yeah,
Man, you actually put out a lot of music on this for being a teenager, like 2014. I mean, a couple releases a year, but like pretty solid amount, for
mhm.
being that young. Damn.
Yeah, man. I was that's all I did. Like uh, yeah, all I did was pretty much like make music all day and like build things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And as far as like after the first release I did, I think I was in 13, so I was in 8th grade by that time, and it was really cool because everyone at school was like, "Oh wow, like you released a song on iTunes." Like I was able to like pull up on people's phones, like, "Look, I have a song on iTunes." And it was like such a cool moment. Um, and what happened is I hit this like point that summer, like the summer after I graduated 8th grade, going into high school, like before I actually went to high school. That summer, I don't know what happened, but like my skill level just like transcended. Like it just went to like this whole other level. Cause I was just like very like ruthless. Like as far as like every day, I was just like always creating. I was just listening to so much music, like just so much music, like all the time, just always listening, just like really like trying to pick things apart and learn as much as I can. And like I said, I was really into like that silk music scene, which is like that really like underground progressive house type of sound, like people like Nigel Good and like Elon Bluestone and like Tritonal, all types of people like that. Um, and I just really took it like very seriously because I got that song on iTunes and I was like a fire underneath my butt up, like pretty much. And I was like, oh man, I have this opportunity now to be able to like, I know I'm good enough to get this stuff on iTunes and like I can actually make money from this now, which is like really cool because I had really bad equipment at the time. You know what I mean? And I was like, I
Yeah.
really am limited. Like I feel like my bottleneck right now is the equipment that I'm using because I feel like I have the skill set to be able to use good stuff. So I was like really pushing myself, and I was at this point, was really heavy on Facebook, and I was just like messaging people and like just trying to figure out like how to get in contact with these labels that these other artists were under. And there was this one label called dang, how can I forget it? Elliptical Sun Records. That's what it was. It was like, and it was like a pretty, like, at the time, if you got on Elliptical Sun, that was like one of those like starter labels, but it was like you had to be a certain level of producer to get on there. So it wasn't just
Mm.
something where they just release everything. You still have to have, you have to make really good music.
Yeah.
And I like stalked their fan page, and then I figured out who the owner of the label was, and then I was able to pretty much like friend him on Facebook. I waited till he like friended me back or accepted it because I wanted to see if he's open a friend request, and he did. Because I knew emails, people don't reply to emails back then. And I was just like, it's so annoying because I would always email labels and stuff and never get a reply, not even get denied. Like they just wouldn't reply. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to like get them instantly. Like I got to get an instant reply. So I found this dude on Facebook. I ended up messaging him. I forgot how exactly I even like got him to listen to my music. I did something, but I basically sent him some stuff. And what I do always, because I was so young and I knew people got scared away by that because they thought it was going to be the most like horrible music ever.
Yeah.
So what I would always do is I made sure I would send the music first and I would tell them my age afterwards, because then if they heard the music and then they knew my age, they'll be like, yo, whoa. Like it would be, instead of it being like, oh man, I don't want to listen, it's like, whoa, this is crazy for like a 13-year-old or 14-year-old. So that's what pretty much happened. I sent them this one song, which is like, I think one of the like the second release on ZamWow probably. I think it was what is it called? Solar Wind, I think. And like there's another one. It was the EP I did. But
I see that you have the Solar EP, Solar and Ethereal back in 2014.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's like this whole situation I'm talking about was to release that EP. So I basically messaged him, and he liked it a lot, and then I told him my age, and then the dude was like on me, like he was just like, yo, like you're gonna do like big things when you're older, man. Like, and he was like very, very helpful. Like he really tried to connect me with as many people as he could. Like at that point I got connected with a whole bunch of other producers who were like way older than me, like in their 20s already, and they were impressed, and then I was able to really just like learn from them and just like network. And like that at that point I was just really like every day I was like always like in Skype calls with people, even though we wouldn't really be doing anything. We'll just be kind of like just talking and sending each other music and things like that, and it was like really fun. And that at that point I was just pretty much networking with other producers, and then just learning from them and learning like plugins to use and like methods to make my stuff better, and like to get better mixing and all these other things. And then from there it just like it's pretty much this exponential curve that's been happening throughout, like since I was 9 all the way up to this point, and I'm starting to hit that like curve point where it's starting to go a little bit more diagonal. So at that point I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to make money. Like I was really just like, I need to, because I've always been like, if you guys look on my channel, Zan Griffin, I've always been like an entrepreneur. Like to this day I'm like still like very heavy into business. And I used to like sell candy at school, sell duct tape wallets that I would make, sell like necklaces and all types of things, just so I could buy more studio equipment and like be able to make better music. And I was like, okay, but how can I kind of monetize my music or make money from it? So then I realized that there's things called remix competitions. And I was like, okay. And I would just go on these websites. I forgot the one website, but it was like remixcompetitions.com or something. It was like a popular remix competition site.
Yeah.
But there was this one competition for this one song, and I met like my first like amazing, like to this day, me and like he's the only guy that I work with on my project currently. His name is Taj Ray, and he was producing back then, and he hosted a remix competition for a collab he did with someone else. You win like a little bit of prize money, I believe. For me at like 14, it was a lot. I think it was like $100 some bucks, and I was like, oh my god, like oh, if I win $100 something from music, dude, like oh my goodness,
I can almost buy serum.
Literally. So I entered that competition, And I ended up being able to like I said, I got in this habit of like, instead of just like being like everyone else and just entering things or like sending emails to people, I was like, I'm gonna build relationships with people. Like that was my strategy. Is I was like, I'm going to build genuine relationships, like where I will literally like not ask for money if they need favors from me, like if they need me to make something for them or like do some kind of favor. Like I was just trying to build strong relationships so then I could ask for something later. Like I really wanted to give
Yeah.
like equal value. And so I found the dude Taj on Facebook. I did the same method, pretty much send him the music first. He liked the remix a lot. Then he found out how old I was. I believe I was still 13 at the time, I think. And he was just very impressed, and we became like very good friends after that. And the funny thing is I didn't end up winning the competition. I think I came in like third place.
It's still really good though.
Which kind of sucked. No, like it was great because I got to connect. Like I said, I still work with this. I talk to this dude almost like on a daily basis to this day. So like we remain. It's a relationship that just has spanned the years, type of thing. So that was really the value in that competition, was the relationship that I got. So meet this dude Taj, and didn't win. We started this like duo for a second, and it didn't really work out. We made like 2 songs together. But I realized I really like working by myself. Like even if you look at like my catalog, you don't really see any collabs with other producers. I only work with like other vocalists. It's just like I have to really be into your music. Like it's like a real, like, I have to feel a connection. Cause I've tried the whole like, let's like piggyback off of each other's fan base type of thing.
Yeah.
But it just, I like I said, I have a business mind, but at the same time, it doesn't feel genuine to me. Like I don't want to release like bad music or music I don't believe in. So I've done like a lot of collabs with like pretty prominent artists sometimes, and I just never finished them, or like I never like push on it enough because it just doesn't feel right. Like it's just not, the song isn't there. So we stopped doing that duo. And at this point, I've learned a pretty good amount. I've gotten like a pretty good amount of connections, and yeah, I'm just trying to release more music on that Elliptical Sun Records record label. Pretty much, I talk to Taj often because he's a graphic designer. Like that's his strength. He went to school for that, and that's like what he was really good at. So he actually started helping me with like graphic design stuff on some of my independent releases that I would do, and he taught me a lot because I like to do everything myself. Like I was like one of those people who like to just pretty much control everything. So I learned Photoshop, I learned how to use After Effects, I learned how to use Premiere. I learned like just pretty much every aspect of like putting a release together. I just like would be on YouTube, Google, wherever, just like learning. And if I had people that knew how to do that professionally, then I would ask them for tips, because I didn't want to just ask them to do stuff because I knew that I couldn't pay them. So, but Taj was cool enough to be able to do some of the stuff for me. So at this point, I released a few things on Elliptical Sun. I'm starting to build a name. Like people are starting to talk about me, which is cool. I see that. I know that I'm starting to make it and have a name because YouTube channels are starting to upload my music, like those music channels, like the progressive house ones. And there were certain channels that I really would listen to all the time. I was like, bro, if I get on this channel, man, that means I made it like on another level. And there was like these smaller progressive house channels that started uploading my stuff. And I was like, woo! I was just like, just super excited. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I'm really like doing this right now. Like, this is like, I didn't know I was going to get to this point at this age. And I was just like very excited. But then I got to the point where I was just like, okay, I need to hit that next level. So one of my friends at this point, he showed me, not one of my friends, the dude who put me on Progressive House, my brother's friend, he showed me a label called Monster Cat. I mean, everybody pretty much probably knows what Monster Cat is.
Of course.
So I saw, so I saw Monster Cat, and I was like, yo, whoa, I didn't realize that they could get this big. Like, I was like, I didn't know EDM labels could, I thought this was like an underground thing. He was like, yeah, bro, you should try to get on this. And I was like, oh man. So like then like the whole like progressive house thing I was doing, I still really like to do it because I was very passionate, but I was like, I gotta get on Monster Cat. Like that was like the next level for me. And I was like, oh man, like how am I gonna do this? So pretty much that like put me in a whole different chapter of like my production journey and like just my artist journey of like trying to get on this label. And I was like, okay, I gotta up my production quality. And then also, I wanted to start making different types of, because like I said, I kind of switched genres a lot, and eventually I stopped doing the progressive house stuff, and you know, those labels are strictly progressive house trance, so they weren't going to release any of my stuff. So then I started to get into doing independent releases. And at the time, I didn't have DistroKid or anything, so I could only post it on like SoundCloud and like do promo and like get other YouTube channels to post it and other like SoundCloud aggregation channels. I think that's what they're called, where
Yeah.
they'll like repost your stuff and like post them. And
Yeah.
so I just did promo that way. And I started to build like a little SoundCloud following where I would like get like a really good amount of comments. I started to really get in that community and like message a whole bunch of producers that I liked. And then I built like a little cool like plan of like producers that we had like on Skype all the time. And we would just always talk and like play Minecraft together. And
That's dope. That's
um,
so dope. Just like a bunch of producers just chilling, sharing tips, and playing Minecraft. That's just like such a
it
cool
was
image.
actually so lit.
It it sounds
That was
fantastic.
yeah, it was amazing. I think those are some of like my best memories that I have. Like it was just when times were like so simple and I had just like just a lot. I don't know. It's just like it was a great time. Um but at that point I started to get a lot better at producing. I started to do more dubsteppy stuff, and you know, every time I switched genres, I would have to do a learning process because I got good at progressive house and trance, and then I had to like figure out another thing. So I'm like, dang it, oh man, I suck again. So I was like, I would go through like spans of like a year sometimes where I'm just really trying to like perfect the sound that I'm trying to get. And eventually I just started I created my own style. Like people were able to recognize like Zan Wow. Like they're like, oh, this sounds like a Zan Wow song, which was really cool because I was doing like dubstep stuff, I was doing kind of future bassy stuff, and I was doing progressive house stuff. And all three of those people are like, it sounds like the same artist. Like, and I built like
Yeah.
a fan base of people who were really just coming back, wanting to listen to my stuff. So yeah, at that point, I'm getting like consistently, I'm getting about like over 1,000 plays on SoundCloud, which to me at the time was like just like mind blowing. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like there's 1,000 plays on here, and there'll be like sometimes like 40 comments or something, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like crazy, man. I'm really doing this, like, and I don't have a label behind me or anything. Like this is just me at the time, and I think at this point I'm about 14, probably going on 15. Um, and so I have like a good amount of like independent releases under my belt. And then I figured out how to make my stuff uniform. And I had Taj at that point. I started to stop really doing a lot of my own graphic design. Like I still did like my own YouTube videos and stuff. Like I did my own visualizers and stuff. But for album artwork, Taj was a graphic designer, so he was able to give me like a uniform look for everything. So
Yeah.
I started to get in the habit of branding. I was like, okay, now I got to focus on branding and like actually building like this look. Like, what is Zan Griffin? Like, who is this? Like, I'm past just the music now. Now I need to get the whole experience together. So at this point, I'm having like pretty consistent releases. Like I would do this thing where I would make like 3 songs ahead of time, and then I would like schedule them out like 3 weeks apart. And then it was either a month or 3 weeks. And so that way I had some consistency because I realized that if I kept doing it consistently, then I would be able to build off of like the hype of the last track. If I waited too long, it dies down. So it
Yeah.
was like kind of like this thing where like a song would come out, the stats go up like this, then they come down, then another song comes out, then it comes up, then it goes down, and it just keeps doing this. And I realized that, and I was like, okay, so I gotta stay consistent. So I kept doing that. I was, like I said, just emailing as many channels as I could. Even if I felt like I wasn't gonna get featured, I was just like, you never know, because there were some songs on some of the channels. I'm like, how did this get on here? Like, what? Like, maybe I can do this. I don't know. So let me try. So I would email a whole bunch of people, and eventually, like I said, my name just started to get more and more prominent. There will be like actual channels that like recognize me, like when I actually message them, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of you before. And I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like I guess you're
Yeah.
gonna see me like spam my stuff everywhere. And yeah, so at this point, I've gotten a pretty consistent release schedule, and then Taj, that guy that I told you about that I met in the competition and who's doing my graphic design, he actually made a collective. He made an artist collective called Knox Collective because his last name is actually I don't think it's Knox. I think it's Ray, but his producer name was Hard Knox, so he called it Knox Collective. And he actually was really good at picking talent because one of the dudes on the collective is this dude named Nurko, and he's actually like a very prominent producer right now. Like he's even bigger than I am. Like, and it's just cool that he had that ear to be able to pick people out. So he created Knox Collective, and it was like a collective of people. And at first I was reluctant of joining because I was like, ah man, I'm really like used to doing this stuff on my own. But I saw that he honestly he had like a connection with Mr. Suicide Sheep. He got one of the artists on like the smaller Suicide Sheep channel. And I was like, yo, like what? Like that's crazy. So I hit him up and I was thinking, I was like, ah man, I already said no, but I don't know if he's gonna like let me now because I wanted to see like some kind of results just because I was already doing my own thing. And then, you know, I felt guilty for that because I was like, ah, dang, I feel like I'm kind of being like a user, but at the same time, I just didn't know if this was gonna like work or not. And now I see that it did, and I felt really bad. But you know, he really believed in me, and he was like he's a very genuine person, and he was like, yeah, man, like I totally understand why you didn't want to do it, but now you can see that we're actually like doing good promo and all this other stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up doing this song called Utopia, and that is the song that really like just got my name out there. And that was the first song I ever got on not on Mr. Suicide Sheep, but it was on this other channel, Suicide Sheep. And I can remember that feeling of that song getting uploaded, and I was just like, it was like just like the craziest butterflies and everything, because it was like just all these comments coming in. Like I was seeing like tens of thousands of views for the first time on a song of mine. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna hit like 100K eventually. Like, whoa, like I was like, yo, this is insane. Like it was amazing. And then there was this dude named Sacha Vibes who had this blog, and actually not even a blog, I think he just had a popular Twitter account, and he found Utopia and he tweeted about it. And from him tweeting about that song, I just got a whole bunch of traffic to my SoundCloud. Like it was just like a whole bunch of comments. That was the first song ever that got me 10,000 plays, and I was like, oh my goodness, I hit 10K on SoundCloud. And yeah, it just gave me like a good amount of buzz in like that underground EDM world. And then I released a few more songs after that. And then after that had happened, then I got hit up by somebody, which was my first manager. And when I got my first manager, that's when things like really changed, because that's when I changed my name from Zan Wow, because I was still Zan Wow when I did Utopia. At this point, I think I'm 15, because I was in high school. I think it was like my sophomore year by this time. And the manager, he worked at Epic Records at the time. Like he was an assistant, I believe. So like I was like, holy crap, like this dude works at like a major record label and he's hitting me up. Like I just make EDM music. Like what do you want with me? And he just saw so much potential because he found out how old I was, because I had my name like on my SoundCloud, on my YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And he just had me do a complete overhaul on everything. Like he was like, okay, we need to think of this as a business. Like, and he's the one who gave me the mindset that I have now, like who really like ingrained it in me to like make everything like very uniform. Everything needs to be clean. Everything needs to be calculated. And he just was able to give me that balance of art and business. Like it was like art plus structure, like that chaos of art and the structure of business. And he was able to really teach me that. And so there was like a real moment where he was like, okay, the Zan Wow thing, you got to cut it. Like he just said it pretty much like that. I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's my mom gave me that name. She was like, the whole point was it like was Zan, and then the Wow was for like with or without. And it was just like pretty much saying like, I'm going to do this with or without you type of thing. Like I'm going to just make my way no matter what happens. Like I'm going to do things by myself. Because she saw like how much like of an independent spirit I was. So I really resonated with it, and I kept it. And then I was like telling him that, and like I actually cried when he was like telling me like, you should change it. You have a cool name, like Zan Griffin. Like, just change it to Zan Griffin. I was like, no, dude, I can't do that. Like, it was one of the. It was amazing because it's like that saying where it's like you have to like, as an artist, you have to like kill your babies or something like that. Yeah. And it was like that was the moment where I evolved. Like that was holding me back. Like it was one of those things where you don't realize that it is until you do it. Because once you make a hard decision like that, you're able to make a whole bunch of other hard decisions. Yeah. And so he explained to me the reason. He was like, ZanWow sounds like ShamWow and like all these other things. And he was like, you have a cool name. Just use a real name, dude. Like,
Yeah, Zan Griffin
The
is a
problem,
pretty baller name. Like it's easy to say. It's short enough. It's unique. Like Zan, it's a super cool name by itself, and Griffin, it's kind of a bet. Like you kind of got like a rock star or like actor name, Zan Griffin. It just sounds dope.
thank you, thank you, man. But yeah, I changed my name to Zan Griffin. I made like a big announcement on all my social media, like, oh, this is a new chapter and like my career and everything like that. And then yeah, there was a lot of me and him heads a lot. I could see a lot of that was just me being reluctant to change
Hmm.
for the better, actually. Um, and there was just a lot of stuff. Like he had the strategy. He was like, okay, like what we need to do, because he was like connected with like really prominent artists at the time, and he was like very, he would analyze like, like what's going on in the industry and how people are popping off, and he was letting me know how I need to do things. He was like, okay, what we need to do for a while is don't release any original music. Don't release any original music. We're gonna just do remixes. And I was like, what? What do you mean no original music? Like, I love having full. He's like, no, we're gonna do remixes, and we need to
Huh.
do them every 2 weeks. We need to drop a remix every
Ooh.
2 weeks. And I was just like, what do you, bro? Doesn't like we got in such like an argument. Like I was like just pretty immature about it, and I like said some things, and it was just like a whole like moment because I just felt like he just didn't value like my artistic integrity. Which at the end of the day, like now I'm older now, so I can see what he was really trying to do. And
Yeah.
like I said, we butted heads on it a lot, and eventually I just really thought about it. I like ghosted him for a second, and it was like a real moment where I thought maybe we wouldn't work together anymore because I was kind of acting like a child. And I messaged him back, and I was like, I realized, that I was kind of acting a type of way, and I said sorry about, just how I've been acting. You're right. I should. This is because he was saying you're gonna release original music again just for a while, maybe like a year, like. And I'm 15, so I've only lived 15 years of my life. So I'm just like, a year,
Yeah, a
dude.
year is
What do you
like
mean a whole
forever when you're
year?
you're in high school, right? A year is a
Yeah,
lifetime.
a year is insane. Like even like getting paid by quarters was just like I was like, what do you mean? Every 3 months? Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But so actually I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. I'll start talking to the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, sup everyone. I hope you're all enjoying the chat so far. Zan's just taking a trip to the banyo. So I'm gonna jump through the comments here. Let's see. T wait. Reason is the most unreasonable da of them all. Yeah. Reason is it's kind of a nightmare. It's fun, but like it's definitely not for everyone. Big Husk. Ask him how much music he would drop in a month. That's actually a good question because he kind of started talking about the remixes. But we'll bring that up after we get through the rest of this story. This like path of going through like from him from 9 years old to like the last couple of years is like invigorating. Like it's very exciting. Um, so let's see. T Wald, exactly. If you're a kid, you get all the time you need to learn Reason. Yeah. Yeah, if anyone's watching this and you're like getting into production and you're still a teenager, like take advantage of the time you have. There's a lot of, I think when you're younger you assume that like, oh, when I'm older, like I'll have all this time to do stuff, but in reality you kind of just get busier as you get older. Like more and more. I've noticed this a lot. Even after going through grad school, I'm like, oh, I'll have more time after I finish school. No, you never have more time. Tally-Ho says, this is great. Thanks. Appreciate that. Fabrice, will this be uploaded tomorrow? So I typically unlist these live streams and then I post them on the Patreon unedited, and then they go back a couple weeks after, but it can kind of, sometimes it's different. Caesar Angelus, Sand Griffin, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. Ukasi, good stuff. And then Caesar, was it asked about his Zodiac album already? I don't know. Hey man, you're back.
Yes, sir.
There's one question that we can dive in because we're in the middle of a very like invigorating story about your life. But we'll do a question and then we'll jump back into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see, what was it? Big Hus was asking how much music would you drop in a month, and I'm guessing he means like nowadays. Kind of like knowing everything that you do now.
Yeah. So I've had like a lot of dry spells where there'll be like almost a year of no music. Just because I'm at a point now where my music is like played very consistently because of that Zodiac album that somebody mentioned.
Yeah.
That allowed me to have the space to like take my time to learn more about music and creating better stuff. And like, so now it's more about the quality than the quantity, but I'd say like ideally I want to do about a song every month or like every like 6 weeks. That's what I want to do. It's just a lot of stuff's going on because I'm also doing like producing for like actual artists now and like a lot of other stuff. So it's not just the Zan Griffin project. Um,
Yeah.
but if they're also kind of asking like how much would should like a newer artist drop, like someone who's trying to come up, if you can, like I'd say like really take a few like okay, you can do this. I'm not gonna say if you can. You can do this if you're serious about it. Take a few months to not release any music and stack up on like 6 releases, 5 releases or something. Release those songs like every 2 weeks. If you feel like you can't keep up with that consistency, release them every month or like every 3 weeks. But have like some consistency there. Like I said, like at most every month. Like if you're an upcoming artist, and make sure that you're doing promo around that song for like that whole time span between releases.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I keep it
nice.
simple. There's not really like a formula to it like that. Just like consistency.
And just to ask you about that, so on Spotify at least, if you release faster than every 4 weeks, you start like kicking yourself out of release radar. Have you found that it's better to just kind of say, well, forget about release radar. I'm a new artist. I'm just gonna crank out music and kind of rely on the organic promotion and kind of like grow my fan base? Because like in terms of like algorithmic playlists, you're like shorting yourself a little bit of release radar time, which can be significant. But at the same time, if you're releasing faster, that's more social media content. That's more ads. There's more justification to run ads and make content. So, um, do you find any like disadvantage with releasing faster?
I'd say as a new artist, you don't really need to like a lot of the algorithmic stuff. I feel like is more for like when you're already establishing somewhat of a fan base. Um, I'd say that you should be still doing that consistent release of like every 3 weeks, or
Hmm.
2 or a month, whichever one that you want to choose. Um, just cause like especially in the era that we're in now, people's attention spans are like so short and you
Yeah.
need to like stimulate them like constantly in order for them to not forget about you. So as a new artist, if you just release one banger, like a lot of people will probably just forget about it. Honestly, like you might build like a core of like a few people, but the people that you could have grabbed like to come back and become like a part of your core audience, they would have already left and forgot about you, and they don't check back. Maybe they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that one song I listened to like a year ago. Let me go listen to that again." Then they're like, "Oh yeah, he released some more music. Let me listen to it." So, you got to kind of like put your face in front of them, like, hey, I'm here, like, hey, like when you're a
Yeah.
new artist, you got to do that because they have to see some consistency. Because then they're like, oh, you're worth following. Because people want to have someone that's worth following. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't want to just follow somebody and then it's just like they don't post anything. Like that's like I've discovered that for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely don't worry about the algorithmic playlist like that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and I know a good amount of especially in the hip hop scene, a lot of especially young rappers are making like they're dropping songs every 2 weeks with full edited music videos in the hip hop space, and it's like nuts,
Yeah,
like pretty good quality music videos, and some of them like they don't even have fancy gear. They're doing it on their iPhone, and they're editing the videos on their iPhone with like you can shoot 4K on your phone, and you can edit it and do all these fancy color grades, and it's like amazing the quality that some of these kids sometimes they're 16 are cranking out. Like it's
yeah.
impressive. Um, but yeah, good advice.
Yeah, a
um,
lot of people, and I think the last thing I'll kind of say to that too is like, you really gotta want it, and you gotta have like, it's just like a love for the music really, and just like releasing things. Like it's, I've seen a lot of people who ask for all these like tips and like tricks and like secret methods when in reality, if you really love what you're doing, it shows, and you're
yeah,
gonna, I don't know, just be consistent with it if you really love it, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to succeed. A lot of people don't want it as much as they think that they do, which is the crazy part. Like a lot, that's why I noticed when the people are asking, like that was a very basic question, so I'm not assuming anything with that person. But like some people when they ask like for these advanced tips or like secrets and stuff, it's because
Yeah.
they don't really want to put in the effort of like just doing like what is necessary. Like because they know honestly, everyone knows what's necessary. Everyone knows if I make
Yeah.
a song that is literally just so good, it's everybody's gonna hear it. Like, and a lot of people don't want to do that because their love for the music isn't there. Like, it's like it's just not like the passion isn't there. So,
Yeah, I mean that
I'd say,
with that, I
yeah,
definitely agree. Like, there's really no secrets with the music business stuff. I mean, there's definitely things you should know and things you learn over the
mhm,
years. But like if someone's not passionate about enough about the music and willing to take it hard enough, like they're not gonna not only not make music that hits the quality they need to hit, but they're also not gonna spend all the time to actually like push it and market it and keep doing that consistently and figure out the branding and engage with their fans. And because in terms of like making the music, I mean, you probably have realized this, like making the song is like half the work in terms of a release. Like you got to make the
yeah,
artwork, you might make a visual, you might email 100 people or more, you might be figuring out Facebook ads, you might be hitting up playlisters, you might be doing a million different things. um, and the biggest secret is just like be good at making your music, get better over time, and do it consistently, and don't stop until you're winning, I guess. And it's the same with YouTube. Like people ask, how do I grow a YouTube channel? I'm like, or they'll ask for some secret. Like, what's the secret to making my YouTube channel grow? You must know, like, you've been growing your YouTube channel. And it's like, okay, publish 1 or 2 videos a week for 6 months to a year, make the videos great of a specific topic, answer all the comments, and try to build a community. And you might get to 1,000 followers in that time. And then
mhm,
keep doing that for years on end. And that's the secret. That's what everyone does. And it's brutal, but it's like if you don't enjoy it, it's gonna weed out all those people, and a lot of people get weeded out. Um, but
yeah, definitely, yeah.
and you've definitely proven like so far. I think we're only up to like you at 16 too in your story here. Um,
Mhm.
so the amount of work that you've done up to this point, um, it's like it's nuts. So I guess let's jump back into where you were. I forget what's the last
Mhm.
thing we mentioned before the bathroom break.
I believe I got my first manager at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just went through a disagreement. You're going to be dropping these remixes because you agreed.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. All right, let's jump back in.
Yeah, so like I always like reference to things like one of my favorite analogies to use is like just like an exponential curve, which is how things they start off like very slow and it's like it's almost like it's not going anywhere, but eventually it hits a point where it just kind of goes diagonal and then it just like kind of goes straight up. So at this point is like where I'm starting to really I've already said that I've hit that kind of diagonal point where I'm like rising up, especially after Utopia. But when I started to do these remixes, it was like just a lot of it was just crazy because it's like all these seeds that I planted over the years, they just sprouted in the trees. Like they're starting to sprout. Like it's just to this day, like a lot of those seeds are still sprouting, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, I'm doing these remixes at this point, and my manager gets me an official remix for this dude named Minnesota, who's like a pretty prominent EDM act. And I get the stems. I literally churn out the remix like really quick, and I did I mean I thought it was good for sure. I got like good feedback from my manager on things to change and like certain things like he was like a drummer, so he kind of knew like a few like
Uh,
things to kind of tell me like what to do. So after like feedback and everything, I got it done. They ended up loving the remix, Minnesota and his team, and that got released just to like condense the whole thing. It got released, and a lot of promo was done behind it. As far as it being on at the time, EDM.com was like very
oh
prominent.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was on like their channels. I was on their Pavilion channel, I believe it was, or something like that. It was one of their like collective channels, I believe, and it got posted on there. Well, actually, it might have been Dubstep. I don't know because they had a few different SoundCloud channels, and it got posted on one of those, and it just like skyrocketed in popularity. And at the time, I'm so glad that I had that manager because I was doing follow to download gates like on all these other songs that I was doing, because the ones that I said I was doing independently before I got distribution, like with DistroKid or anything,
Yeah.
I was releasing those for free, but initially it was just you could just download it from SoundCloud. But then I discovered download gates,
Mm.
and I did download gates, and actually a lot of the people from those gates would actually be active followers and listeners. So
Oh.
even though I was asking them to follow my SoundCloud, it wasn't like I was getting like these ghost followers. Like they were actual followers, which is really cool because the feeds were different back then. Like there weren't all these reposts going on, like repost for
Yeah.
repost, all this. So when you posted a song and someone went on their feed, they would see your song and it would play it. So um, yeah, I was fortunate enough to be in that era of SoundCloud. Um, and I was doing SoundCloud for the longest. Then I had this Minnesota remix come out, and it was a free download on SoundCloud. And I mean, and my manager was like, "Okay, we need to build your Spotify." And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean, bro? Like, let's just my SoundCloud is going up, bro. Like, we're already like close to 10,000 followers, man. Like, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "No, like, eventually SoundCloud's gonna die." Essentially, is what he told me. Like, and it's just so cool that like I'm so fortunate. Like, even though we're not working together anymore, like I'm so
Yeah.
fortunate to have met him, and like a lot of the things that I thought he said were like BS at the time. I could see that he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, that
And
was a really good prediction on his part because SoundCloud nowadays it's kind of like a shit show.
yeah, no, literally, it's unless you're spending a whole bunch of money on promo or like you just miraculously pop,
Yeah.
SoundCloud is not the greatest place for music right now. But so we did a Spotify follow to download gate, and when I did that song, I got like instantly, like within like a month or two, I got like 1,500 followers on on Spotify. Um, so that gave me like a cool boost because at the time I had a new Spotify account. I had Zan Griffin, and I didn't have any followers, so I didn't have any music up on it.
Yeah.
So um, the remix it blew up on SoundCloud. Sadly, like one of their channels got like taken down, EDM.com's channels, but it was like I believe at like a million plays on SoundCloud or approaching a million
Wow.
plays on SoundCloud. Yeah, like after like a few years of it being out, it was like about to hit that. I know it was for sure like at like the high 800s, low 900s, but it might have hit 1 million because I didn't check it like a whole bunch. Sometimes I would.
It's crazy.
But
That's so
yeah,
much. Like it's it's
yeah,
nuts.
it was a really popular song, and it ended up getting distributed to Spotify, and for like a long time, it literally like was just like not performing well. Like after like 5 months of it being out, or like four or something like that, it only had like 2,000 plays or something. And I was like, oh man, like it's crazy how well it did on SoundCloud, but it's not gonna do anything on Spotify. Like, so I mean, I kind of dismissed it, and I kept doing remixes at this point, and they were unofficial remixes, a lot of them, and I basically just would like find stems online. I would try to find like I'll like whatever song is popular at the time. I would try to see if I could find an acapella or something, or like even
Mm.
like a bad acapella, and just put a whole bunch of reverb on it to make it sound good. And I'll just do remixes of that. And over time, like I said, I was doing this every 2 weeks, and I would just find any song I could think of and just remix it. And I just kept doing that over and over again. And I started building this fan base because my manager Kevin at the time, me and him would just like relentlessly send it out to like these SoundCloud aggregate channels. We would get reposts. We would do repost. This is when repost like was first like a thing. So it was actually like very powerful at the time. Like when you did repost for repost, you would actually get like from one person, you could get like 5,000 extra plays. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
like
so
nowadays a repost could get you nothing. You know, like because
nothing,
some of
dude.
these
Like
channels
20
will,
streams.
yeah, like they might repost like 20 tracks in a day, and they'll like try to charge all these producers like per repost, and it's almost turned into like a weird pyramid scheme. All these repost networks
Yeah, no,
nowadays.
literally it is. Like I was definitely like a part of it when I saw it like really like stop working, and I was like, wow, everybody's engagement is like horrible
Yeah.
now. It's just not there. But I kept doing these remixes, and I kept doing remix competitions too because I was trying to build new connections because I had a manager, but I'm like a very independent spirit, so it's like that's also why honestly that's why we stopped working together eventually because I
Yeah.
just wasn't like letting him do his manager thing. Like I was like kind of like being too involved in things because I like to just move. I like to just go. Like I don't like to wait on someone else. Like if they're sleeping or all this, I'm just like I need to do it like right now. Like time is money, bro. Like so. While he was still managing me, I was like doing remix competitions and things like that. And I was trying to get in good with the Trap Nation guys. And
Mm.
I was able to find the owner's Facebook, and he accepted my friend request. But this dude would like never like he would leave me on red sometimes, and like he wouldn't reply. And I was like, dang man, how can I just I need to figure out how I can get in good with this dude. And eventually he had a remix competition on for Trap Nation, and it was on dang, what is that place called? I think it's called Wavo. I think that's what it was called. But they used to host like remix. I don't know. I think it might still be a thing, and they might host remix competitions. But there
Mm.
was a remix competition on there, and I entered the Trap Nation one, and I ended up winning. Like it was really cool. And the dude recognized me and he messaged me on Facebook and he was like, "Yo, your remix is really good." And I was like, "Yes, yes, I know what this means. I know what this means. Like I've been like doing this long enough to know like when I've like kind of established like a solid connection, even if I still might get ghosted a few times, they'll reply sometimes, which is
Yeah.
like that's good enough for me. Like I just need them that means I just need to send them the highest quality material. So then that way I don't like bug them pretty much. Like everything I
Mm.
send is like fire. So I win that competition and it got posted on Trap Nation. And that was like my first song ever to get 1 million views, I believe, like on YouTube. Um, and after that, I had a really good connection with Andre. And what else was happening? I was doing remixes. I think at a point me actually okay, I won a I won another remix competition for Monster Cat. Um and that was like how I also spread my name a bit more too. It was like for the song Botneck and Icy Monsters Deeper Love, and I ended up winning that. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you know who Slushy is, but he's like a
Yeah.
really prominent EDM. Yeah, so Slushy was way smaller than me at the time, and he came in second place, I believe, and I came in first. And he actually hit me up to do a collab at that time, and it was before he got like managed by like this huge manager, Mo Shalizi, like who's just like manages just like all the biggest acts in EDM pretty much.
Yeah.
And this dude just blew up, like literally like a month after I won that competition, this dude passed me up in everything. Like it was insane how
Yeah.
fast he grew. And
Yeah.
unfortunately,
He's
we never
like
got to collab.
he's gigantic now. Like what is he
Yeah,
like?
he's
Multiple
super huge.
millions of monthly listeners, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got
probably like
1.6 million monthly listeners, and he's got 591,000 followers. So, man, that's
yeah,
crazy how like like you kind of like you were like ramping up ahead of him, and then one day he
yeah,
just makes a certain connection. I mean, his music's fantastic, so he definitely
yeah.
deserves it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely he does.
but that's cool. That's a really cool like occurrence. Just bump into someone who's now like kind of an international act.
Yeah, it's happened a few times with me where it'll be like somebody like kind of smaller, like the same size, and then they make a connection, and then like because they already have great music, but it's all about finding that connection who can really like market your music to people and get it to people's ears, and then they
Yeah.
blow up. Like that's how like I've experienced that a few times with some artists. Um, but yeah, so I won that competition, and at this time I'm starting to build up like a different type of like um what's the word, like just hype or something around my name. Like
Yeah.
at this point I'm like in with like Monster Cat and like Mr. Suicide Sheep and like Trap Nation, which are like the biggest EDM channels pretty much.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to get to that next level where I'm just like, oh my wow, this is like whoa, this is really really cool. So I kept doing remixes. I already had my original that I was gonna release, but I was waiting. I was just building up hype because people were wondering. They're like, "Why does this dude release original music?" Like everyone was like really like commenting that, and I was like, "Okay, that's good." Like at this point, I'm fully in the mindset that my manager was putting me in. I was like, "Oh yeah, I like this. I like that people want it, but I'm not gonna give it to them yet. I'm just gonna keep doing these remixes until they just get tired of them. Like right on the edge of them getting tired of the remixes, I'll drop an original song." Because I know they're fiending for it. Like they want to hear what I could do by myself. So I had a song, "You Remind Me Ready," and basically, I at at a certain point, I stopped working with my manager because, like I said, we butted heads because of me, pretty much. Like, he really wanted to be like the manager of things and like really, like I said, just manage things. And I was like kind of acting as like a co-manager, kind of like he
Yeah.
was handling the main stuff, but I would like go do my own thing and like also not like inform him of what I'm doing. So he wasn't like updated on
Ah.
everything, but I just felt like it was gonna take a lot to like just always like message him like, oh, I'm about to go message this guy on Facebook, or I'm about to go do this, I'm about to go do this, I'm about to go like do this. Like
Yeah, because
I already have
that way
parents I
you'd
have to
have the
report.
weird situation where like you hit up someone and then he hits up the same person and then it looks super
Yeah,
unprofessional because like you know your organization can't even talk to each other. Like, so why should they take you seriously? Those kind of situations. Because
exactly.
I can see where, you know, where where there would be a conflict. And just to butt in, because Caesar in the comments mentions found you on Mr. Suicide Sheet, fell in love with your work there, fire emoji. So shout out to
No,
Caesar. Nice man.
but
Okay.
yeah, at that point we stopped working together, and at this point, like I said, I acted as like a manager essentially also. So once he left, I knew everything I needed to do, which is pretty great. Like I was just like, it sucked because I was like, dang man, he has some real like I said, he worked at Epic Records. He had like
Yeah.
major label connections, major artist connections, and I lost some of those. So I was like, dang, but I established my own connections. Like I had a personal relationship with Mr. Suicide Sheet. I had a personal relationship with Trap Nation. I had a personal relationship with an A&R at Monster Cat. So at that point I was like, okay, I could do this. I just need to work harder now. So I kept doing the remix thing. I ended up I don't even remember how I got the email, but I got an email for the chain smokers, like after they did selfie and everything, like they're pop, like they were doing like they were just like super popular at the time.
Yeah.
I was able to get an email where like they guaranteed would listen to stuff. Like it was like and it was like an ins I forget how I got it. It was like some kind of like producer homie or something that gave it to me. And I tested it out because I did a chain smoker remix of what is that song called? Dang, I forgot the name of it. Closer. I think it's called
Oh,
Closer.
closer. Yeah, that's like their OG like super hit, right?
Yeah. So yeah, with Halsey. So
Yeah.
I found like the acapella online. I literally did a remix in like 2 days. Like I literally just spent 2 days on it because it just came out. So I was like, I gotta hit it while it's like this hype is around the song because people are gonna type in Closer remix and I'm gonna
Yeah.
pop up. So I need to like capitalize on it. So I also had a connection at Proximity too. I forgot how I got that connection. I think because I did some like remix and he ended up liking it because I got like a connection from one of the other channels. They like introduced me to him. Um, so I did this Closer remix, and this is like this is the release that let me know how far I got because I emailed the song to the Chainsmokers after it came out. After I posted it on SoundCloud, I did a whole bunch of promo like 2 weeks before. Because what I always do is I give myself 2 weeks because some people want to premiere stuff, some people want to
Right.
like have exclusivity or whatever. Like they want to be the first ones to upload it. So I would do promo 2 weeks out, which is like something I recommend everyone to do. When you have a release, do it like at least like 2 weeks out because people love to be the first ones to hear things. Um, and so I just went crazy for promo for this. And once it came out, I sent it to their email and they listened to it and they reposted it on their SoundCloud. So I got a SoundCloud repost from the Chainsmokers on that remix. Then
Oh
I got
man.
Proximity to post a video of it on YouTube. Like I was like strategically doing this. I was like, I'm just gonna get hit with all this traffic. So I just hit up all these blogs, hit up all these SoundCloud channels. I was doing reposts for reposts, and literally, I believe in 3 days, I got 100,000 plays on that song
Oh jeez.
from the amount of promo that I did. Like I was like really like I strategically was like I want to hit. I definitely said I want to hit 100K in less than a week because I knew I could do that at that point because of the connections I built. Um, but I didn't expect it to happen that fast. I was like, holy wow, this is like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it was one
I
of those
just pulled up
moments.
your SoundCloud and 401,000 plays, 245 comments, and yeah, that's crazy. Especially like it's a remix too. Like it's I see you have a lot of remixes that have done really well, which is I never even thought of that as a, you know, I mean, I guess I'm not, my like electronic music is more like art artisty, I guess. And like I know recently you've been trying to make yourself be more of an artist and lesser known as like, you know, just a producer. I think we mentioned that before, and so maybe that's why I never thought of it. But like, it's crazy the volume that you can get on some of these remixes. Obviously, there's strategy behind it and skill, of course. Remixes aren't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but man, like Illenium Sleepwalker, 550,000 listens. Just Ascent, Heavy as Heartbreak, 524,000 listens. Leo, 401. Seven Lions, 193. Like it's it's baller.
I was relentless with it, man. Like I didn't get, because the thing is, I was in such a habit of doing it like every 2 weeks. I was just like, bro, I can't stop. Even though sometimes it wasn't every 2 weeks, but it was like a consistent, like, even if it was like a month, like break between them, I was like very, like people were expecting me to release something. So that was like very powerful because I did it for such an amount of time. And once you like, I'd say once you get about like 4 or 5 releases, like released consistently, people see that as a pattern. They're like, oh, this dude, like, he releases music like every like this amount of time. So they check back. So that's why I tell people, like, you should do that every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or month, because you build up this pattern, and people see that pattern and they come back because they're like, oh wait, it's been 2 weeks since that one song came out. Let me go listen to it. Let me go check and see if you released something. So that was something that I discovered at that time. So yeah, I did that. I kept doing a few more remixes after that, and I was still solo at the time. And then I got to a point where I finally released my original You Remind Me, and that was a completely independent release. Like, I did all the promo myself. As far as like connections, I didn't have like an official manager at the time. I had this one guy from Trap Nation helping me out, not the owner, but another guy who was like second in command there. He like really believed in me, and like he ended up managing me a bit after the original song came out. But initially, he was just kind of helping me out. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna try to like get your stuff to as like many connections as I have." Because like I said, he really believed in me. We would like have like long Skype conversations sometimes, just like kind of chopping it up and talking about like my dreams and what I want to do and everything. And so yeah, if you look on Spotify, like that song, like it got actually featured on like one of those big EDM playlists before Mint was Mint. It was something I forgot, but it was like the biggest EDM playlist. It got featured on there within the first week of it coming out. And yeah, it got on a few like big Spotify playlists, and that song literally like blew up like initially, like as far as like how many streams it got. Like I got 100,000 streams on that song in like less than a week on Spotify, I believe. Like it was like very quick. Yeah, it was like very quick. But I promoted like the crap out of that song. Like because I built up so much hype to it. Because like I said, for like pretty much like almost like a whole year, remix, no originals, and people were waiting for that. So I like was able to release that, and then boom, like it just ended up just doing like super, like it did like more amazing than I thought it was gonna do. I was like, whoa, this is like, it's just like, the thing is, like I keep saying, there's like not a lot of tricks to this. It's just like it's the basics are what matter the most in everything, is what I've discovered. Like at the age that I'm at now, is like you gotta if you do the basic things better than anyone else, you're gonna just kill everyone. You're gonna kill it, because everyone's looking for that instant gratification. Everyone's looking for that trick. They're not willing to put in the hard work on the things that actually matter. And I did that for such a point of time that it showed me that just doing the things that make the most sense instead of all these fancy tricks really pays off when you just give it time and like real effort. And yeah, it got featured on a whole bunch of channels. It got featured on, I think, Suicide Sheep. It got featured on Proximity. Some other YouTube channels, like some blogs covered it. And it did well on SoundCloud too. Like every single platform, it literally, like on YouTube, I don't think it hit 1 million views on anything on YouTube. But it got like hundreds of thousands of streams on every platform. It got over 100K on everything. So that was really cool. And I believe after I released You Remind Me, I was working on my Zodiac album already. So
Yeah, and
that
and, and
was
this is
like,
one that Caesar in the chat asked about. Was
yeah.
it asked about his Zodiac album? So
Hmm.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the whole story behind Zodiac?
So ever since I was like a little kid, I've always like, my mom has always like been into like astrology and things like that. So it's always been like, my mom will always like say like things I do is because I'm like a Gemini, or like because my sister's like an Aries or whatever. So I was like, I always thought it was cool. I was like, yo, why hasn't anyone done like a Zodiac album? Like I always like would I always got scared because I was like, dude, somebody's gonna take my idea. Like someone's gonna think of this. And no one, like, I did see that eventually I did see that there was like this YouTube kind of series of like Zodiac music things, but it was like
Mm.
very like spiritual type of like meditation music. It wasn't like an actual like listening album. So I was like, okay, so no one's done like an actual listening album of this idea.
Oh man,
So
you've done a collab with Wolf on that album.
yeah,
I love that guy's music.
yeah, he's amazing. Like, love that dude. But yeah, I ended up just waiting on the idea because I said in order for this to pop, because I knew it was a good idea. I was just like, I need to be patient and wait till I have the producer skill set to really give justice to this idea. So um eventually I was, after You Remind Me came out, I really started working heavy on it because I remembered it. It just suddenly because I forgot about it for years, and it came back, and I was like, "Yo, wait a minute, I could do this Zodiac album thing." Whoa! And then it just made it was just like this butterfly tingly feeling where I was like, "Dude, this is what I'm supposed to do." So I just dedicated all my time, all my energy to that. And I think if you look at my SoundCloud, there was like a significant gap between releases. Like I started to lose momentum as an artist. Like people were asking about me. Like I knew I saw like comments and stuff. People were like, "Yo, did this Zan Griffin dude just die? Like he did all this. He built up all this momentum, and he just like went ghost mode." And the thing is, I kept it so top secret. I didn't say any. I didn't hint at it. I didn't tell any fans. The only people who knew were like industry people that I would talk to because I was trying to find a label. Because this time I was like, I want to push this as much as possible. So I want to do this with the label. And I started working on it when I was 16, and it honestly got finished when I was 18. But the thing is how I released the album was I released each Zodiac song on the day of each Zodiac. So Gemini came out on the day of Gemini, like the day it started. And then Cancer came out on the day of Cancer. So I was able to have time in order to make each song, even if they weren't finished yet. So what I did is I waited till it got to a point where I was able to pitch the idea to a label because it wasn't finished yet, like when I pitched it. But I had a few songs that got my idea across. I was like, oh yeah, these songs like are next level. Like, so I hit up Mr. Suicide Sheep, which is also known as Seeking Blue, and they like absolutely loved the idea. And they're like, we're totally down to support this. We love how you're gonna do an album but release every single song on these days. Cause I told you about the remix thing. I saw what that did. I saw what that does as far as like consistently releasing. I knew if I dropped a whole thing of songs, it's just not like every song is going to get love like that. I wanted
Yeah.
every song to be heard. So when I pitched that idea to them, they were like, this is such a good idea. Like, why hasn't anyone thought of this? And so, yeah, I just pretty much got those songs together. They helped me get like some of the vocalists. I knew some of the vocalists personally, and like that Capricorn song, it's crazy how that song ended up being my most popular song I've ever done. Cause like I really thought that was gonna be the worst performing song on the album. And just like how me and Wolf, how we like connected, it was so like we didn't connect for a collab. Literally, my manager, like the dude who worked at Trap Nation who became my manager, he actually knew Wolf personally. And I had my first show ever. Like when I was 16, I had my first show at South by Southwest. And I didn't know how to use CDJs. I didn't have money for CDJs. I didn't know anyone with CDJs, and I had to use CDJs at the venue. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess up. Like I got this opportunity, but I don't know how to use these things. So Wolf had a whole set of CDJs. So I went to his house. We met for the first time. He showed me how to use them. I practiced my set. and I played him Capricorn before vocals were on it, because you know those are his vocals. Wolf's vocals are on that. He didn't do any
Yeah.
production, but he did the vocals on it. And he heard it. He was like, "Yo, this song is so cool." He's like, "Are you gonna have a vocalist on this?" I was like, "Yeah, man, if I could find one." He's like, and he told me, he's like, "You know, I've actually been trying to sing. Like, I just started to really start singing on my own stuff." And he showed me a song he sang on. I was like, "Yo, your voice sounds so good." And then on top of that, he is actually a Capricorn too. So it was just like one of those like destiny moments where we were both like, "Dude, we have to do this." So I gave the song to him, and it took him probably like a week or two, and then he ended up sending me the vocals and everything, and it sounded, I mean, pretty much what it is now. And yeah, like it was just like a lot of moments like that on Zodiac where it was just like very like coincidence, like
Yeah, and
cool
I just realized,
moments.
like, I know when we chatted, I checked out some of your songs, but I noticed that I actually have Capricorn saved. So I think I actually heard it like years ago and saved it on Spotify and didn't realize it
That's
when
so
we
funny.
talked. So like even before we met, apparently I already heard your work. That's like it's kind of a crazy coincidence, but
Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah, because he was actually one of the first electronic artists I ever like really that made me like in electronic music. Because for the longest time I was a metalhead. Like I listened to rock and metal, and I wasn't big in electronic music. And probably starting in 2017 ish, I started listening to electronic music and pop and stuff. And Wolf was the first. Wolf and I forget the name of the other artist. I'm not gonna remember it. There was another artist as well that um, got me into it, and it was because I think I heard one of his songs in there's this like drone flying channel. I forget what they're called, but like the guy just does like freestyle FPV drone flying. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
Yeah.
but it's dope. And he would play like some of Wolf's music because I think he has some royalty free stuff out there. And I just found it, and that's what got me into like EDM, and then releasing my own electronic music and pop music, and starting to even look into music marketing. So it's come full circle.
That's dope. Yeah, it really did. It has come full circle.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Damn.
But yeah, it's crazy how things, I don't know, just how the universe works sometimes.
Yeah, and so on that song, you got 2.4 million streams,
Yeah,
and it's
and the
your.
crazy part is that song was never in any editorial playlists ever.
Oh wow! So what gave it such a big push?
So, so like I said, I released every single one of these songs on the day of the Zodiac, and initially, so I was, because of the numbers I got previously, because like I told you, like I got like 100K in like 3 days, things like that.
Yeah.
I was really counting on when I like dropped the first song from Zodiac, which was Gemini, just because even though the first song in the Zodiac like thing is Aries, I started with Gemini just because I'm a Gemini, and I dropped it on my birthday. Yeah. And so I dropped Gemini, and I thought, oh man, this is gonna blow up. I'm gonna get so many streams on Spotify. Like You Remind Me did so well. Like Gemini, like pretty much like craps on You Remind Me. Like this song is like, it's gonna do it. And it really didn't. Like it did well. Like anybody in here will be happy with the numbers I got, but I just was so focused on like I wanted to outdo myself. I was just like, yo, what, I built up all this hype, like but what happened is Capricorn is like one of the last songs that got released. So as I kept doing the series, every single song just got more popular, because look, I never told anyone, I didn't say that this is a Zodiac series. I just released them. I wanted to see how people would react, because I wanted it to feel mysterious. I wanted people to feel like they're a part of like some like secret or something like that. I didn't want it to be like a known, like, oh, I'm doing a Zodiac series. Like people caught on eventually, and people are like, yo, wait, he released Gemini, Capricorn. I mean, he released like Gemini, Cancer, Leo, like Scorpio, like all these different ones. He's like, they're like, he's doing a Zodiac series, and then they realized I dropped him on the days, and then it was one of those things where like word of mouth and all those things, like people were like, yo, this dude is doing a Zodiac series. And what happened is it just started to just skyrocket in popularity. Like it, like all pretty much almost all the videos that got posted, because it was released on Mr. Suicide Chief's label. So they posted every single one of the songs on their channel except for Aries and like 2 other ones, because they were just a little too hardcore. Yeah. But almost every single one of those songs has a million views right now, or over. Like Capricorn has, I think, has like 5 million views on that channel.
Damn.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it was
So
pushed out the combination of, you've built up this organic audience over the years.
mhm,
You've built all these connections, and especially with Mr. Suicide Sheep, who is like ginormous, featuring a
mhm.
lot of them. And so like you literally did this like did you pitch to like blogs too or other playlists or anything, or was it all just like leveraging those couple strong connections and your fan base?
Definitely, I did my best to do my own promo. Because like I said, I'm like one of those people who I don't really like to just rely on somebody else to just do all the heavy lifting. I'm like, if we both do heavy lifting, we could lift like twice the weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was really just messaging all the blogs that I knew of. I was messaging like just everybody I could. So I was able to definitely get coverage from other places. I was still doing like reposts with people, because it was still kind of working at the time.
Hmm.
Not really that much. So eventually I stopped doing it because it just stopped working, and it made my SoundCloud just kind of look weird. I wanted to have that like clean, like professional look at that point, because I got to a size where I was like, okay, I don't really like need to do this. It seems like I have like enough organic people coming out.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just blogs and stuff. But it didn't. The most that it did was like give me some new fans to be able to tell other people by word of mouth that I'm doing this series, which I feel like was the most powerful thing. It was such a combination of like the reason why the Zodiac album is still even doing well. Like a lot of those monthly listeners that you see are coming from that album that I released it over 2 years ago now. Like it's been 2 years since it's released, and
Yeah.
I still get like consistent streams on it. Like it's pretty much it stays at a number. It hasn't like actually Capricorn has been getting more streams lately, which is very interesting. So it stayed at this consistent number because I thought about this stuff like so thoroughly when I was like, I'm gonna release these things every single like Zodiac thing, like every day of the Zodiac. I'm gonna make fire music because that was the most important part. I was like, these songs have to be like amazing. Like the fact that because I also got like a great artist to do it, like the guy who did all the artwork that you see.
Hmm.
He was one of the artists for Magic the Gathering. He did like some of the card
Really?
designs. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So that's why the artwork looks so good. And the crazy thing is, since we got that guy to do this series, he has such a big fan base. Some of his fans recognize his artwork style, and they're like, "Yo, Peter Moorbacher did your artwork." So it was just all these things stacked on top of each other that just
Yeah.
really allowed this thing to like just build up, build up, build up, build up, build up to such a point. And yeah, and that's pretty much I guess like how Capricorn ended up getting so much traction because I mean it's a great song. Like I can see what Caesar says. He said, "Don't forget it was a fire song."
Yeah,
But it was
that's the thing that probably I don't mention enough in my channel, and a lot of other people probably don't mention. Like, when you're talking about promoting music, we often forget to mention like the music just by default has to be awesome. So,
yeah,
like Capricorn, if it wasn't a great song, even with all your connections in the world, like it, wouldn't have gone as far as it did. And I'm sure like all your connections and having like Wolf on it and stuff. I mean, you have a crazy amount of collabs in this. Like almost every single song on Zodiac is a collab. Well, it has like a vocalist feature on it or
yeah.
something, and I'm sure that helped a lot. But your the production skills matter a lot, and so
Oh yeah, sure.
you're like 9 years of obsessing over making dope music and honing the craft with remixes. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, it really doesn't, man. And sometimes I forget because I don't know, like I forget about all the work that I put out. Like conversations like these lets me realize how far I've gotten to like the point that I'm at right now, and it makes me go like, wow, because even at this point, I still feel like I don't know, like a noob. Like I still feel
Yeah.
like a noob at this thing. Like even about like our call about like Facebook ads and stuff. Like I'm still like always learning. Like I'm not like holding on to the past. I'm not like, oh man, I did this and I did this and like, and I'm not just like, I don't know, my ego isn't like blown up by that because I see that a lot of the things that I used to do don't work anymore. And I'm always just
Yeah.
trying to become a student and like learn from other people who know what's going on right now. And yeah, and I feel like that's also what allowed me to get to such a point that I'm at, is because I've really humbled myself in a lot of ways, as far as like always thinking that I'm not really that great. Like I feel like I can always get like way better. And you know, there's a lot of people who have said like, "Oh man, you're like my favorite producer, and like you're the best EDM producer," like some stuff like that. And I'm like, "Whoa, like I don't know about that one, bro."
That's
There's some dudes who are like 16 who are killing me, bro. Like,
that's
you know what I
dope
mean?
though, and I've noticed that, you know, I've talked to a lot of people on this kind of series that I do who have like various levels of success in music, and that's a common trait I've noticed among the people who end up pushing things pretty far to where they are now. Like they never they're never like bragging about it, or they're never like they never even necessarily realize it. Like one dude I was
Yeah.
talking to, you know, he had like 300,000 monthly listeners, and I was like, dude, you're kind of like you're kind of a big deal. Like you're living off of your Spotify income, and you're not even like touring, and you're still just making a living off your music. You're dropping music videos. You got like all these followers and subscribers, and he's just like, yeah, I guess. Like what do you mean you guess? Like yes, like you're doing a fantastic job, and like that just seems to be common, and I think it's a good quality, especially like you're 20. You know, you have you have a super like good head on your shoulders of like how this stuff. I mean, the whole release strategy you just described for Zodiac. If someone like told me like, yo, I got this idea for an album. I'm gonna drop this Zodiac album. I'm gonna drop all these releases on the first day of each Zodiac, and I'm not even gonna tell anyone that I'm doing it. I'll be like, yo, that's such a fire idea. Like that's brilliant, because you're kind of making this cult following. You're letting your existing audience like figure stuff out on their own and trusting that they'll do that, and then you're leveraging all these connections. Like in hindsight, your whole like, you know, 10-year journey you just described, it's like it's brilliant. Like you had so many brilliant steps along the way.
Thank
it's
you.
it's it's almost like it was like inevitable that you would you know, get to where you are now. And it's, you know, I feel like it's inevitable with all those decisions. You're gonna have no problem getting, you know, surpassing Slushy once again.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, definitely hope that I can. And I know one thing is like I've definitely grown more confident in my abilities. So it's one of those things where I've definitely humbled myself, but I believe in myself at the same time. It's
yeah,
like a balance, because you can't be overconfident, because then you miss a lot of opportunities. Like there's still like some artists who are just like they have no followers, and if their music is just crazy, I'm just like, yo, like what are you doing, bro? Like how'd you do that? Like, or like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I just kind of recognize talent in different ways, even if they're like not as big as me, or they haven't as much experience as me, or they haven't gotten the stats that I've gotten and things like that. And that comes from like that humble aspect. But then at the same time, I've seen some artists who are too humble, and it's one of those things where they never
mm,
know like what their worth is. It's like they never are able to like, even with like deals and stuff. Like sometimes an artist may be offered like $10,000 for like a 60-year contract or something, and that person's like, oh my gosh, I get to sign a major label deal and I get $10,000, but they don't know their worth. Like
yeah.
that's one of those instances where they're too humble and they don't know like what they're capable of. So it's like a balance you have to find of like believing in yourself and know that you're like, you know, kind of like hot stuff or whatever, but at the same time you're like, I could be a lot hotter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not at the hottest I could be. So
Yeah, and then like, you know, things are always changing, and it's like the second you stop learning is like the moment you kind of start dying in a way. Like, you know,
oh yeah.
I try to like, that's one reason why like this series is great, because I get to talk to people like you who have completely different experiences, and then realize like, oh, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I should try this. You know, like your opinion on like dropping tracks like faster than what I typically say to drop them, and a justification for that, and like a lot of the like the nuances along the way. I mean, like the Zodiac album like strategy, and like the remix and stuff. It's making me think like, oh man, maybe I should tweak my release strategy a little bit, and try to do something fancier and more artistic, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's, you know, the you never stop learning, I guess, is the moral of
Oh
the
yeah.
story.
Never stop learning, man. Like I've learned so many things, and like I've failed. Like I'm talking about all these successes I've had, but like it's like literally I think I failed more than I've succeeded. And the thing is, I believe that failure is the greatest teacher, and it just shows you what not to do. Like I've done so many releases that you can. I mean, some of them are like privated. Like
Yeah.
I've released a lot of music, like a lot more music than people know that I've released, because a lot of them don't do well. Like even if some people go through my sound my YouTube, you'll be able to see so many releases that were never published on like on distributors or like on my SoundCloud. Like there's sometimes you could go different parts of the internet and find like Zan Wild stuff or Zan Griffin stuff, and you'll be able to see like, yo, this song isn't anywhere except this one place. Like, why is it? Because I took it down. Like, and maybe I forgot about that other place, or maybe I want to leave it up because I'm like, you know, if someone wants to do like a deep dive on me or something, they could find some like gems. But
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I've had the same thing where, like, when I got my first editorial placement on Spotify, I made a video about it just so I could share with people, like, maybe some things they could do to improve their chances. And people were like, oh, man, like, you're so lucky. I wish I could get an editorial placement. I'm like, well, I mean, yes, I was fortunate to get it, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I submitted 50 songs to them before this that did not get selected.
Yeah.
Like, it literally was 1 out of 50 that got selected. And then in terms of, like, failed songs, I mean, I dropped 3 albums before I even started promoting my music, and so those were all flops, you know, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And it's like by far like the biggest motivator for me is like every time something goes wrong, it's like, and maybe it's the engineer in me, you know, I'm a mechanical engineer by career. And
That's dope, man.
I went, you know, I got a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and
Oh, that's sweet.
it's so I guess you and I are kind of a lot of like musician
Yeah,
and engineering kind of mindset. But like, you know, when
yep.
something goes wrong, you know, the engineer in you or the nerd in you is just like obsessive over like, why didn't that work? What can I do to improve it? Like, what are all these little analytics? What you know, what can I tweak? What can I fix? And then yeah.
Yeah, problem solving, because that's what because I took a 4-year engineering pathway in my high school called AVEX, which is the Apple Valley Engineering. I forget what the X stands for, but it's just I just called the Apple Valley Engineering Program. But
Yeah.
we had to do like a lot of like, because we had actual like precision machining, like we used like CNC lathes, like all like those types of things. We used SolidWorks and like all the
Oh
different
yeah.
like CAD type of softwares and stuff like that. And our final senior project, we had to write a like 60 something page paper on an invention. And literally what my teacher said, like the main teacher for that whole pathway, because I had the same teacher from freshman year all the way to senior year, he would always say, engineer solve problems. That's like literally what you do as an engineer. Like you find, like simplify it, find the problem that is like that a lot of people have. Don't find like a super niche problem, but don't find like something like way too big and broad. Like you have to kind of like find that balance.
Yeah.
And our job is to solve that problem. And I just have always thought about that. Like I always think about like, what problem am I solving right now? Like what am I bringing to the market? Even for business, even businesses, that's how they think. It's like, what problem am I solving? Amazon solved the problem of shipping like any good that you want in like 2 days to somebody, or like just really short. Like shipping, like that's really like the main problem that they solved, was being able to get things instantaneously, or almost eventually it'll be instantaneously, but like that's the goal right now. They want to have the biggest store that you can get things from.
And like every business, that's like the number one thing, you know, what problem are you solving? And for, you know, even with you and your music, like by networking with these people, you're solving problems for them, and in exchange they're solving problems for you. That's kind of how a relationship works, right? Like, you know, hey, you need a favor? Okay, I'll solve that problem for you. And then like 5 favors later, like, hey, I can't get anyone to hear my music. Can you help me solve that problem? And then, you know, Amazon with their shipping, and like for me, my whole YouTube channel, the whole problem I try to solve for people is, you can't get your music heard. Let me try let me try to give you some ways to solve that problem. Like, this is what I've done, and that's what works. And problem solving kind of drives life itself. But
it does. And I've experienced a lot of people who, like, there's some people who I just won't bother listening to their music just because of how they kind of come at me. It's just like, I'm only offering you like something. It's like it's like there is no like exchange of value. And like, just from my experience, like I've always been one to make sure that I'm not just coming at someone like, hey, could you listen to my music? Like I told you, I always find like clever ways in order to kind of like get people to listen to my stuff. Or I kind of back off when I see that they're getting annoyed with me. I'm like, oh wait, I don't want to ruin that connection because then I'm
Yeah.
gonna be the kid that they block or ignore or anything like that. So I always try to figure out like what it is that they need. I'll like look at their Facebook posts. I'll be like, dang, they have this problem. I'm good at this. Like some artists that I've become friends with, they literally didn't know how to do like graphic design or they didn't have a graphic designer. And I'm like, oh yo, bro, I can do like this video for you. I can make a logo for you. There's been like a lot of like fruitless favors I've done. Like I can't even name every single one, but like I said, I've like done more fruitless favors than like favors that paid off in the long run. Like I've just kind
Yeah.
of learned from a lot of those. And like I said, I've just talked about like those successes that I've had, but like there's been a
Yeah.
ton of failures and like learning things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes
like
sense. I mean, like if if let's say I was trying to push a song and I knew you had some like connection somewhere, I wouldn't just like blindly hit you up. Let's say we didn't talk for a couple months or something. I wouldn't just be like, "Yo,
yeah,
man, I know you mentioned you got this connected somewhere. Can you pass this along?" Like, that would be the way to like burn bridges, right? The better way would be like, hey, do you have any, kind of stay in touch, and do you have anything you need help with, or like, hey, maybe I can help you launch a Facebook ad campaign, and I do this with a lot of my friends where I guess they start off as kind of like music connections, almost like a network connection. They're just kind of like chatting
yeah,
about music, and then you collab on something or whatever. But at some point, it's they're trying to release a song. They see that things are going well, and it's like, yeah, if you want, like, if you just send me the money you want to spend on the ads, I'll just set the whole thing up for free for you, and kind of get it running.
mhm,
And I have one friend of mine, Big Jer, who we've worked on songs together now. We have a project called Murder Night on the side, and he's a fantastic producer and teacher at what's it called? What's that dope music college?
um,
Well,
I know what you're talking about.
he has courses at Warp Academy, but he also teaches at the physical place. I think it's in LA. Maybe it's not, but
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I've had some people.
Icon Collective. That's the one. Icon Collective.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, he teaches for them, but he's done mixes for me. He gives me feedback on songs all the time, and the same way we chat regularly. I help him out with the Facebook ad side of things, and I give him tips on other things that I can give value, and he gives me tips on other things where he can give value, and it's so much better than if I had to hire someone to improve like a mix or something or get feedback, or if he had to hire someone to do that. Like, it's just better to like work with someone on a regular basis that you can like not just like save cash on, but you kind of grow to like respect their opinion, because you know them personally and trust them and know where they're at in life.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great situation, and a lot of people don't have that, and I didn't have it for a long time. But like I found that if you just start engaging in like communities, whether it be Facebook groups or forums or YouTube live streams, you see some people there just be like, oh hey, like, want to just like chat music sometime? You never know. Like eventually you'll have all these connections, and you might find a cool transaction. Like a couple people on my streams started like collabing and dropping songs together, which was I was so pumped when I heard that. Someone was like, yo, I met this guy on your channel and now we're dropping a song together. I'm like, that is freaking awesome. Like, it's just a great feeling. But I want to leave some time for questions, because I have like a limit in like 10 minutes is probably when I have to stop the call. So if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat, and we'll spend the next time just kind of going through whatever you want to ask. And then, the way, I don't know if I told you this before, typically I unlist the video, and then it gets edited to some version to go a final upload a couple weeks later.
Okay.
And then that way it's like, if we go, like when you go to the bathroom, I can cut that out in the video, or like, we go off at a tangent that, the whole YouTube algorithm, like, YouTube algorithm wants things to be short and snappy and not have long intros, so I'll be cutting stuff like that out.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Caesar Angelus asked, were the Zodiac songs made to sound like a soundtrack to a movie by any chance?
Yeah, actually, like I really kept that in mind. Like I like to this day, I still like am trying to figure out. I have it with this one synchronization or licensing company with like a non-exclusive license, so I can still like do stuff with other companies, but I'm trying to figure out somebody who would really like be able to pitch it to like some kind of show or movie or something, because I feel like a lot of those would really work in like some kind of like scenes or like trailers and things. So I definitely kept that in mind. I was like, I wanted this to be like synced. Like that was like a real goal
Yeah.
of mine. Make it really epic.
And just a follow up question for me: have you ever gotten songs synced yet?
Um, Not like anything big that I've seen. I know there was like some kind of like Coca-Cola thing that happened, I guess. It was with this one company that I always just register my stuff with. Like I said, like they're one of those like non-exclusive like
Yeah.
synchronization companies. And I got like a whole bunch of money one day. Like I got like $1,500 just like direct deposited into my account randomly. And I was like, yo, where did this come from? And it was from that one song Utopia that I told you about. This
Yeah.
happened like a year ago, by the way. Like, yeah, about a year ago or in some change. And it got synced for like some kind of like radio Coca-Cola commercial or something. And I got like a whole bunch of money from it. It only got played like it got aired like a few times, like 3 or 4 times, and I got paid like
Wow.
around like 1,500, I think.
That's fire
So
though. Like you can say I have a song in a Coca-Cola commercial and got paid for it.
yeah,
Like
I
that's
mean, it was like a Coca-Cola Corp thing, so it might have been like one of their like smaller companies, but it said like Coca-Cola something. So
that,
yeah, that
that,
was cool.
yeah, that's still a dope achievement.
Hmm.
Dan Ekberg, drop in SolidWorks. Nice. Yeah. Alex Botchel. Hey man, how's it going? This guy has awesome numbers on his Spotify. Well done. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you,
I'll
man.
show this on the screen. You won't be able to see this, Zan, but the chat
Oh, for
will.
sure.
This is Zan's Spotify. Make sure you go and follow and listen to his music because it's really good. And 116,000 people this month have also thought it was really good and checked it out. And he also has 28,000 followers and counting. So go check out his stuff if you're into electronic music of any kind. Your most recent song, "Backwards," is really cool because it's kind of like poppy R&B mixed with electronic music. At least that's the vibe. It's super chill,
Mhm.
and you got these like moody vocals. And is that the first song you sang on, or did you sing before that?
I have a few other ones on there like Control, Searching, um, what else? Alone, and I think one more song. I just started singing like 2 or 3 years ago, so I'm still like working on my voice. I know it's one of those things that gets better with time. So
Yeah, and,
yeah,
and for someone who's just getting started with singing, like you're nailing it. You
thank you, man.
you don't sound like a producer who's just trying to like sing. Like you actually sound like a singer in it, which is
I
good.
appreciate that.
And then we got Mohammed Ismail. Mohammed Ismail. I think I'm saying that right.
Mhm.
Did you do any music promo with ads, Facebook or Instagram?
No, at the time, I didn't really even. I thought it was kind of like one of those things where I didn't know how to like capitalize on it properly, so I just felt like it was like a waste of money at the time. I'm at a point now where I like me and Andrew talked about this, like as far as like him helping me like figure things out with ads. So now I'm starting to implement that, but at the time, no. Like everything that I talked about in this whole interview, it is just been literally just organic, reaching out. Sometimes like some submit hub stuff. But the most like the best promo I've gotten was literally just organic connections. Like I've literally spent like $1,000 on promo before, like or actually more than that. I think it was like 1,200 on like a song, and it just did not. I was like really surprised at how little that did compared to like more my organic connections. And even
Yeah.
for Zodiac, we hired a publicist, and it cost us like we spent about like $3,000, I think, and he didn't really
Wow.
do much. Yeah, and we stopped using them like the first like month or two because they really didn't do anything. And so all that traffic was pretty much organic for Zodiac. Um,
That's so
so yeah,
crazy. Like, I mean, I know like everyone's. It's probably not like a spoiler for anyone, considering the title of this video is growing to 100,000 listeners on Spotify organically. But
yeah,
for it's still incredible. Like the fact that you did it with essentially like nothing but like hard work. It's very impressive. Um, True Vine said, "Do you still do remixes? I was on the remix grind and stopped."
At the moment I do not, unless if I just felt inclined to. But it's just I'm so focused on like creating like a new sound and like really, I don't know, like just going to the next level of my artist journey. I'm not really concerned about remixes since I already have a really nice sized fan base that are like here to listen to my music. I'm not really trying to do any, I'm not gonna call it gimmicky, but just like any like things to like build things up. I'm not really like trying to do that as much. I'm just trying to make really good music at this point since I have people who are ready to listen to my stuff already.
Yeah, but at the same note, like it sounds like if you know, Truevind, if you're still like growing your audience, it seems like it would still be a solid way to grow your audience doing remixes. Because I mean, even in 2019, you were still cranking out remixes that were doing very well. Like your Pins and Needles remix, 820,000 streams, and it
Oh
came
yeah.
out last year. And um, so it seems like it's still a good strategy. Would you agree? Like if someone's trying to build their audience, you think doing remixes is still a solid way to go about it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I know now, like, because I totally forgot I even did that one. That was one of those moments where Trap Nation actually reached out to me. Like, they have their own label, Lowly Palace, and they were like, "Hey, we're looking for an official remix. We
Mm.
thought you'd do a really good job. Can you do it?" And then I did it, and then it did really well. So, yeah. So if I get in situations like that where labels are kind of like hitting me up or artists directly are like, "Yo, I need a remix for my EP," and if I like the song, I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm game. I could do it."
Yeah.
But I'm not really doing unofficial remixes anymore, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah.
But for a new artist, it's really good to still do remixes. Like if you can make a fire remix, that's a good way to get in front of an artist because the artist may hear it, the original artist, especially if you aim at somebody who's big but not too big, they may hear it and then they might that's happened. Like that Seven Lions remix I did, he hit me up to do that remix, and I was like a fan, like
Oh,
I was like
that's
a
nuts.
fanboy of him. Yeah, and it was just one of those things where like sometimes they reach out to you when they see you doing enough like remixes or like just making waves. So yeah, definitely do remixes. It's a great way to come up on opportunity for sure.
And my personal tip I'll give you with remixes, even though I haven't done remixes yet, is if you want to get the attention of someone who knows the value of building relationships and networking and hard work, do a dope remix of Backwards by Zan Griffin, and then like tag him on a few social media posts because you know, if you do a fantastic job and you remix his song, he's gonna know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
um, next thing you know, in 2 months, you're gonna have like 15 remixes of Backwards. That would be
Hey,
so.
if they're fire, man,
Yeah,
I'll definitely build solid relationships with people as long as it's fire. Like just
yeah.
good music, and I'm totally down
I
to give
think
you like
doing
personal email.
remixes of artists like your size would be, or like smaller even would probably be more beneficial. Like you're at a point
Definitely.
where you're still like approachable, but you have a good traction and you're growing. And so like someone like you, it's a lot more reasonable to get your attention or I don't know, like the person you did that other remix for, that the one Pins and Needles. I think they had 100,000 or so monthly listeners. You know, it's much more reasonable to do that and get your attention than to cover and remix like an Illenium song or like a San
Yeah.
Holo song. Like those guys are not like, maybe some label person might see it, but I don't think you're gonna get
Yeah.
those guys' attention. Don't
Yeah. It's
spam
even hard for
Zan
me
though.
to get in contact with them.
Yeah. Let's see. Tally Ho. That's a fun name. Question: have you, Zan, ever wanted to stick to a genre, or do you like the sporadic nature of your releases over the years?
I the thing is, I want to like in my okay. I guess it's one of those things where it's like in in my like I said, I'm like half entrepreneur slash business and half like chaotic artist. So, I feel like the chaotic artist kind of takes over just like a little bit more. And from a business sense, I really know it would be the best because I've seen what it does when I just stick to a sound and people recognize you for that sound. And like I see people like Illenium and San Holo and like other people who they kind of like they'll do different genres, but it's like a very like kind of same sound. It's like it's almost like a template of like a song, and they kind of change it a little bit and release it. Like that's the best way to really like build up your fan base and like traction really fast.
Hmm.
But like honestly, I really like just doing. I've like fully committed to the whole like I just want to be artistic and make really good music, no matter what genre it is. And I feel like eventually I'll get enough people to resonate with me on that. So and the people that support me constantly right now, um they like that, like the people who are like my like core supporters, like not just people who are here for like the Zodiac album or here for whatever, like the people who really just like my like how my mind works with music.
Mm.
They really enjoy the fact that they don't know what to expect. Like they're just like, oh man, the next release it could be like anything, like, and that's really exciting for some people. Some people it's a little too much though. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like a niche for sure.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it's as an artist, it's hard to like pigeonhole yourself, even though that might be better for like marketing and business wise because it makes you easier to say like, you know, if someone asks like what music are you, if it's easier to say like, oh, I do future bass or something than it is to be like, well, my last few songs have been future bass, but now I'm going down this somewhat more poppy direction and I want to, you know, it's harder to market. But as an artist, like I think all of us we want to be like unique and different and change and that. Caesar said, "I knew it. Your music plays like soundtracks to a movie. I wish to see." That's fire.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you could hear it.
Alex Botchell, I'm curious how many streams you get per month. I see the listeners, and I have always wondered how many more listens than listeners people get. So I guess he's asking, like, you know, you have 116,000 monthly listeners. How
Yep.
many monthly streams are you getting from that?
Yeah, I'm down to share. Here, I'll go check right now. So like right now, this is the 116 is where I sit like naturally. Like that's my low point. The highest I've ever gotten, I think I got to like 600,000 monthly listeners, like for a few months,
Damn.
or like four. I know for sure four, but actually I don't think six. I think probably like five, almost six though.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a lot.
but
It's a lot
yeah,
of streams and a
yeah.
lot of listeners. It's a lot of.
Yeah, it was that was a crazy time for sure. Right now I have the last 28 days I've gotten 350,000 streams.
So roughly, almost exactly 3 streams per listener, which is really
Hmm.
good. And actually, like when I talk about like Facebook ads and stuff, like that's I usually say anything above like 2.5 streams per listener is like good. And the downside of like if you hire like a shady playlist company or something, or probably also use like a SoundCloud repost thing or any of those kind of more sketchy tactics nowadays, is you'll end up with like 1 stream per listener because those playlists are kind of they're not very engaging. So that's cool. Like you know, that shows that people who are listening, it's not like they just check you out and bail. Like they're sticking around. Like they're listening to a few songs, and I'm sure some people listen to one and bail, but like, and then the whole lot more people listen to like 5 or 6 songs and then come back, you know, later, which is really
Oh
cool.
yeah, like if I look at Capricorn, 64% of the plays come from listeners' own playlists and library. 14% of the streams come from other listeners' playlists, and 15% come from Spotify algorithmic playlists. And
Nice.
I get about 2.3 thousand streams on the song a day. I literally, yeah, the
Ah,
lowest I get in a day is 2,000 streams on Capricorn, and most of them come from listeners' own playlist and library and like other listeners' playlists. Only 15% comes from Spotify algorithmic playlists, but everything else is literally from my own fan base.
yeah, man, that's dope.
Hmm. Very
I
fortunate.
hope everyone in the chat is inspired as hell to go make some music now.
Yeah.
um, let's see, what did I leave off? Caesar, what's the story behind the song "Awakening" or the album that it comes from?
Awakening, I actually put like a synopsis underneath this because for that one specifically, I put like the story for each one, which is the funny part. Um, so if you look on my YouTube channel and then type in, or not even type in, but just go to the videos and find Awakening, you'll see like a big like paragraph of me explaining my whole mindset behind it. But basically it was just I really wanted to make something like very epic, and I felt like I reached another one of those points I say like on that exponential curve of like skill level where awakening, where I just feel like I awakened like a whole different like side of my artistic abilities and like technicalities, and that song was really like kind of showing off like my writing abilities that I have now.
Yeah,
And yeah, I made it kind of based off of this one, actually two anime, because I watch a lot of anime too. I watched My Hero Academia. It was like when I first started watching My Hero Academia, I was really inspired to make that song, and then I watched a series on Netflix called Devilman Crybaby, and then that really inspired me too. So that's what the song is really like those three things really.
Nice. It's cool that like you have you put so much passion behind like the meaning and messages behind your songs too. Like a lot of people don't like just to say it
Yeah.
lightly. Like it's like, oh, it's just like a cool sound, you know. And I mean, I'm like some of my songs, like sometimes I'll prioritize like melodies over meaning. But like, you know, for my song, my project in Murder Night, I try to make all the songs like a really dark story. Like
Hmm.
Be Mine was about like a corrupt future politician like dominating the whole like planet, and like you know, it all this like crazy future dystopian stuff. And then Ascend was about like human cloning and downsides with like, you know, making clones to like have them work as like workers, and the clones like rising up and stuff. And so it's cool like when I hear producers like who often will just be like, it's just a cool drop, man, you know, have like awakening. It's got this like, because I'm like awakened myself and I'm going through this change, and I'm also inspired by all this anime. You know, it's good. So it's good to have that passion.
Yeah, definitely like passion over a lot. The greatest artists of all time aren't known for like their marketing. They're known for their music and the
Yeah.
passion behind it. Mike, I mean, when you think of greatest artists of all time, people think of like, you know, like Led Zeppelin or like um, Michael Jackson or Prince, or like even like a modern day one would be like Kanye West or something. Like they're all known for like, even though he's known for a lot of other stuff too, but what got him to that point is the passion behind the music. Even though like it's just one of those things where it's like that passion that you put behind things, like people can really feel that. Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's the most important part. So yeah.
And Mohammed Ismail, what is the best way to make connections in the industry? And so one thing I'll say, Mohammed, if you this specific link you're watching on, once the stream ends, will kind of vanish for a while. So if you want to watch the rest of this call, like if you join late, just bookmark this page, and once it's done, you'll be able to go watch it, even though it's unlisted. Little pro tip for anyone um, that's not part of my Patreon, because that's where it'll live otherwise. So I'd say watch back, because we talked about that before. But Zan, I think there's some kind of summarize your process was just hit up lots of people and make sure you're providing them with like one, dope music, but then two,
Mhm.
providing them with value and like a reason to help you, you know, like give them,
Yeah.
help them help you in a way.
Yeah. And one thing I will say too is everyone wants to, even though I wouldn't consider myself like a superstar like right now, or like I hope to be one day, but everyone wants to be a part of that superstar story. Like even how I'm talking about in this interview right now, like some of the people I talk about, they wanted me to talk about them in interviews and stuff. Like when I like have a song that blows up or something, they're like, yeah, like it's just like one of those things. Like you got to think about that. Like, are they going to be a part of like this amazing process? Am I bringing them like this, I don't know, this cool story? Like for me, the advantage I really had, like, and I really capitalized on, and I kind of got sad every time I would get older. I would get happy because I couldn't get into some shows that I played. I had trouble like getting in and being backstage because of
Yeah.
how young I am.
Oh, right.
Um, but yeah, so I wanted to be older, but I was really grateful for my age, because when people found how old I was, they were like way more inclined to help out because they
Mm,
saw the skill level that I had and the determination. And like people thought I was in my like late 20s by the way that I talked. And like they were just very surprised that I was like still in high school. And so that was like a very, if anybody in here is like very young, please use all your time right now while you don't have to pay rent or like make money. Like literally dedicate all your time to becoming the best producer ever, because you can really use that as an advantage where people will be very impressed with like your work ethic and like the point that you're at. So me saying all that, I just feel like just having like bringing value to people, whether that is like the dope music or like it's a dope story that you have. Like if you have like just like how your life has been, if you just have like a cool story to tell of how you've started making music and where you've gotten. A lot of people want to be, there's a lot of people who are just very genuine people in this industry that I've met who really want to help out and like be a part of your success. And
yeah.
so yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
there really are. Like, I mean, you know, obviously we hear a lot about scam stories in the industry, but at the same time,
yeah.
like most people in the industry are willing to lend a helping hand, and you hear stories all the time about a larger artist like just finding really being impressed by a smaller artist and then like collabing with them or sharing their stuff and kind of giving them a push along the path, and or just giving them advice. And I think in general, there's way more people willing to help than there are people willing to scam you. Obviously
Yeah.
don't like just trust everyone you see, but at the same time realize that there are genuine people out there who
Yeah,
want to
and it's a
help.
lot harder to scam people nowadays. Honestly, like
Yeah.
you could get blasted on social media. Like I've had to blast some people before on social media for like just some like kind of weird stuff that they've done.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just one of those things where people are held accountable now to a different degree. So people have to be fair, or their name could be slandered,
Yeah.
and no one wants to work with them anymore. So
Yeah, like when
unless you just
when
have a whole bunch of money,
when
you know, so
Orion Promotions hires a bunch of bots to go spam all my YouTube videos with, "Hey, maybe you should check out Orion Promotions to promote your music." And then I go on my YouTube community page and post, "Everyone never use Orion Promotions because they hired a bunch of bots to comment on my freaking channel." So
yeah,
things like that. Like if it's the second,
exactly.
like if I got ripped off and like United Masters, kind of like I had a bad experience with them. So what do? I complain about them to my people. Tell them,
Yeah.
hey, I had this bad experience. Probably shouldn't trust them.
Hmm.
So it's a good point. What's the next one? Dizzy asks, question: What are some good song promotion tactics for your next song release as an upcoming artist with a small following?
For sure. Do you want to answer this first or me? Or
Um, yeah, I'll dive in first for this one.
for sure.
I would say, I mean, if you have a small following, it kind of depends how many songs you've had out, but like having a social media strategy is always helpful, whether you're going to do Facebook ads or not. And like, I've usually said like drop music like once a month or something. Don't drop albums first, like focused on dropping
Oh,
singles once a
don't do
month.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And make a lot of content around your release. Do like literally 50 different social media posts around your release across your different platforms, not all in the same place.
Yeah.
Have like a few weeks, like 2 weeks before your song comes out, tease the artwork. A week before, tease 30 seconds of the song. Post some story clips of you working on the song. Do a thing talking about the song. Do story posts every day revolving around the song. Sprinkle some other life content in between. Interact with people on Instagram. Like if someone comments, even if it's just a fire emoji, just be like, "Yo, thanks, bro," or whatever. Just interact with
Yeah.
people that interact with you, and find new people to interact with in a genuine way. Like a lot of people online talk about various strategies of like spamming people on Instagram to get them to listen to your stuff. Don't do that, but like find
Yeah.
stuff that you genuinely like and genuinely comment on it and start conversations. Because that will help you in the long term. Now, when it comes to ads, if you kind of figured out your brand and you have a social media following, even if it's small, but like you kind of have a strategy with your social media, then you can kind of dive into the stuff that I do in my videos, right? Like doing a Facebook ad campaign to push things out the door. And there's also Submit Hub, right? Like you can put like 10, $20 into Submit Hub credits and try to get on some blogs or playlists or YouTube channels are pretty good. But yeah. So what would your response be, Zan?
My response is I'm at a very different point in my mindset. I mean, definitely, if you were here for the whole interview, you could kind of hear like my methods, and those like still work. Um, Not to the extent that some of them did, like the whole like repost for repost thing or anything, but like just building connections with people who work at like some channels, like for example, I said when I did my progressive house stuff, I found like very small progressive trance channels that were like you said, I'm approachable. So I found people who are approachable for someone of my size. Like a lot of people are I found a lot of small artists are like the most arrogant, which is like really funny to me when they don't have anything to show for, like they think they're like the hottest thing, but they don't have any numbers, they don't have any fans, they just think that they're so great, and they just think that they can just hit up Mr. Suicide Sheep or Proximity or
Yeah.
whoever, and they're just supposed to get a reply. So really gauge like your size and look for other channels that are a bit bigger than you so you can get some new fans, and maybe even some channels that are the same size as you or a little smaller, because those channels might blow up. um
Yeah.
and so like promote to those people. But what I'd really say for the rollout of a release is take your time to have like a lot of people don't talk about this enough, and this is what I'm building my whole brand on right now, which is really what do you bring of value to the consumer? Like there are literally like millions of artists right now, like millions of SoundCloud people, millions of Spotify artists. What makes you stand out from everyone else as a smaller artist? So for me to give an example, I had a guy named Lack City, which some of you guys might know who that is. He's an amazing producer. He was much smaller than me and a friend of mine who have been producing for a while, and he like was really like kind of freaking out when we had a call with him one day. He was more so freaking out over my friend because he looked up to him like a mentor, but he saw how many followers I had, and he was like, "Yo, it's really cool that I'm like talking to you guys right now." And we were like really hyping him up because we were like, "Yo, your music is amazing." And this dude, he does his own animation, like he went to school for animation, and his music is just amazing. And every single one of his releases, we were so excited. Like me and him, me and my friend, like we knew how small he was, but his music was just so good that we just like every time we released something, we're like, "Oh, dude, this dude's gonna blow up." Like we would always
Yeah.
say it. And then we also looked at his artwork, like just like he would do like these cool designs, and we were just excited. Like we were like, there was excitement to see what he was gonna do next. And me saying all that is you should really think about like how you can make things like look really cool. Like for example, like artwork, like for Zodiac, I talked about how Peter Moorbacher did the artwork and he did the art for like Magic the Gathering, like some of the cards. Like me doing little things like that really made people like feel like I care about what I'm doing. They know that I'm not
Yeah.
just some person trying to make money from music or just trying to be popular or famous or have clout. They knew that I was really like going to like deliver like a good product. So like really package instead of focusing on promo and such, focus on like longevity as far as like having really good artwork, like maybe finding someone on Fiverr or somewhere if you can't really afford anything, just finding somebody who could do a really good job of like making some good ads or like making some like or like ad videos and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
making really good artwork for your song, or having really good press images, because people will see that professional look and they see like the effort put in there, like, yo, like this dude's so small, but why is he putting so much effort in here? The music must be like, it just makes you
Yeah.
curious. And a lot of people, it's really a long-term thing, because some people do it one time, they're like, oh, it didn't work that well, like I spent all this money.
Yeah.
You're gonna take a loss for a while, like honestly you're gonna take a loss, but I'm telling you, like over like a year of like consistently like putting all your effort into like the rollout and making sure the artwork is fire, the music is fire, making sure that you maybe get like a mixing engineer to make sure that the song is mixed well. Like you want the song to have longevity, because like I said, with that song Capricorn I have out, it's getting 2,000 streams a day because of all the preparation and all the like literally like some of the money spent like for certain, not really certain things, more so like the artwork, because you know Peter Markbacher is like a really, I'm not going to disclose how much it was, but like that was like pretty much, I didn't make money from Zodiac for a while because we had to like they had to recoup what they had to pay him.
Yeah.
And I really for a second I was like, dang dude, I don't know if it was worth like spending this much on artwork, like literally just
Yeah.
artwork. Like I was like, man, I don't, maybe we could spend this on mixing or something like that. But the thing is, long term, to this day, I still get people like, yo, Peter Moorbacher did the art for your. It's just like you got to think long term and think about like you having somebody come back to you, instead of just trying to do like a gimmicky like promotion tactic to just get a whole bunch of like impressions and like get a certain amount of reach, and then you only get a few people who stick around. You want as many, you want people to like come listen to it, then they stick. Like you want to make like a really sticky substance or like surface, like, so it's like
Yeah.
I think this is a good analogy. Make your surface as sticky as possible, so when people come they get stuck, like instead of them just like coming and then they're like, oh, I'm about to go somewhere else. Like you want them to get stuck to what you're doing, so try to make your release plan as like sticky as possible, which is just having high quality stuff.
That's a super great point. Like I say to people, like it's often good to start with some kind of organic marketing so that you know what to do with people once they come to your page. Because like if, for example, if you're running ads through your Instagram, even if you get people to click, like if they check out your Instagram, if you don't have a regular stream of content, why would they follow you? Then also if they go to your Spotify profile, you have no icon, no banner image, no profile, no links to your socials, and you got one song out, why the hell are they going to follow you? And the factor of like how sticky can you be? Like if it's, you know, a lot of the stuff I talk about is kind of more surface level, where it's like, you know, have regular content and have stuff on your Spotify. But what Zan's talking about is also make sure that stuff is damn good and put a lot of effort behind it. And I think that's like a super good point. Like if you send people to your page, whether you're doing it with ads or not, like whatever method of promoting you do, if your page is 5 times more sticky than someone who's spending all this money on ads, like you're gonna do way better because like you're gonna retain way more people that you send their way, which means like your organic strategy is gonna work good, your playlist reach is gonna work good, you know, whatever thing you're doing, it's gonna be more effective. So that's
Definitely.
it's a great point.
And like I said before, the greatest artists of all time aren't known for their marketing strategy. They're
Yeah.
known for the art. They're known for that crazy artwork they're like, I can't believe that they put that artwork on their album.
Yeah.
I can't believe they put so much effort into a song. I can't believe they had like 40 people work on this one song. Like people, we live in an age where it's like I said, it's an age of instant gratification, and people are looking for an immediate reward. So they're willing to spend money on promo, but they're not willing to spend money on making the music better or taking lessons. Like going, like, you know, another thing I'll say is for anybody in here who wants to just like get like immediately better at producing, spend some money on like private lessons. There's like so many producers who make like tutorials on YouTube who do private lessons, and you know, they cost a little bit, but honestly, that hour that you spend with someone, you could tell them exactly what your problems are. And literally, they will teach you. Like, literally, there was this one guy who was on Twitter, and he had like, me and him are really good friends now, and I got him like a gig, like engineering for this big record company. But like, this dude was so much smaller than me. He did producing lessons for $40. I listened to his stuff because I was really trying to figure out like how I could get to the next level of mixing. And I ended up hitting him up and doing a lesson. I paid him, and I was way bigger than him. Like I humbled myself because I saw he was better at mixing. I spent an hour in a lesson with him. He taught me so much. Like I was just like, yo, it was so good to the point I was like, yo, can I pay you another $40 so we could do like another hour? Because I have some more questions. Like, and those 2 hours took me from right here to right here. Like, just that fast. Like
that's like what I was mentioning earlier with my friend Jerry, or Big Jer. Like, you know, he teaches like mixing and production for like as a career, right? And for me to have him kind of like where I can just reach out and he just spends 10 minutes explaining something, you know, when we're in the middle of talking about like a song we're working on, you know, like, oh, I figured out how to make like get all the phase issues out of my master and out of my mix, and then like he spends like 5 minutes showing. I'm like, holy shit. And then like, you know, it just kind of bumps you up a level. And then, you know, next time you're chatting, I figured out how to like get my mix like hella loud, but like still be fine on Spotify and like sound fantastic. And then, or like all these little tips over the years of chatting with him. And so yeah, like you know, and on that note, if you want to go hire Jerry, go to look up Big Jer on YouTube and you'll find his stuff. But you know, anyone, like if you respect someone on YouTube that does like stuff like teaching for free, just hit them up, or they might even have a link. And not only would you be like supporting some channel that already gives you free stuff, you'll probably learn a lot. Like I've invested thousands of dollars on like one-on-one calls with people, mentorships, courses over the past like 3 years, and it's almost never let me down. You know, there's obviously exceptions. There's every so often you pay for something, you're like, well, fuck me, I just wasted my money.
Yeah.
but you know, most of the time it's genuine, especially if you're paying for someone's time. You know. Mm-hmm. Cool, man. So I will keep you on the call because I just want to quick wrap up with you after this. But I gotta run to a meeting I have in a few minutes. So fortunately, we gotta end the call. But everyone in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out. How long have we been going? We've been going for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think this is a new record. But this is also, I think, the most people I've had on a stream.
Really?
I think so. Cool, I think we peaked at 81. So people were very inspired by your story, I think, and everything you're doing.
I'm glad.
But yeah, thanks for everyone for hanging out. I hope you found this valuable. bookmark this page if you want to rewatch it, because the full video will be going live later. So if you want to like remember something, feel free to bookmark it. And yeah, anything you want to give people before we end the live stream, or tell them?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I really want you guys to take away from this is, before you worry about the marketing of the music, really focus on the value that you bring and what separates you from the next artist who's trying to, who's starting off, or someone who's even bigger than you. Like, if you look at someone like Illenium, don't act like, don't say, oh, I make music just like Illenium. Like, why am I not getting places? Like, really, like, figure out, like, of course, you need to have that same quality as Illenium, but make sure that you have something that differentiates you, that makes people want to listen to you instead of Illenium. Like that, like, keep that in mind, and don't get too caught up on, like, how much money you spend on marketing and all these people that you need to network with. Like, you really need to focus on the art first, and that's like the music for sure. Like, that's the most important part. Like, really, like, brush up your knowledge on, like, figuring out your direction and what it is that you're trying to say with your music, and make it cohesive for people so it's not confusing. And then also figure out, like, just having like good artwork. Like, what's your artwork style? Like, what is it that that you like, and have like very high quality, like as high quality as you can get. It doesn't mean that you have to have stuff like on the same level as my Zodiac album that costs like a good amount of money. But just like I said, find someone on Fiverr who can do something. If you can't make something of quality, just find someone who can make something decent. Like, put that extra effort into the actual art in the release and not the actual marketing aspect. And I think that's really like the best advice I can give, is just really just give value to people. And you, over time, it's a long-term game, and you're gonna beat all these people who are focused on marketing. Not right now. Those people with marketing are gonna get further than you, like, over the next few months. But talk to them in like a year or two, and you're gonna have a loyal fan base where you don't even have to market. You could just post something on Instagram. You could post something on Spotify, and you got 500 people ready to just come listen because you provided them with value. You don't have to keep spending $1,000 on a marketing campaign to get to those 500 people. You already have those 500 people because you put that money and effort into the art itself. So yeah, bring value, and put all that effort initially into the actual rollout of the release and all the assets that are around that release. So yeah.
Damn, dude. It's been an incredible call. All right, everyone.
Man, I'm glad it was good.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and yeah, go show Zan some love on Spotify. Peace, everyone.
Yeah, would appreciate